Case number 3075, Drake versus Wayne's Corner. All parties, please step forward.
Derek Drake is suing his former girlfriend, Rosvita Waynes Kerner, for an unpaid car loan.
Mr. Drake.
Yes, ma'am.
Is your claim that the defendant owes you $1,000 for the down payment that you gave her for a car?
Yes, Your Honor.
The defendant says she owes you nothing. It was your idea because you wanted better access to her. Ms. Kerner says that you owe her the same $1,000 because you destroyed or threw away some dresses that she had purchased for your sisters and gave you the dresses to hold until you saw your sisters and you disposed of them. She wants the value or what you paid for them. Mr. Drake, I found some of the papers interesting. How do you know Miss Kerner?
Well, we used to live in the same apartment complex. About 6 months ago, she moved out of the complex.
When she lived in the complex, did you have a relationship with her?
No, we were just friends.
Okay, who did you live with, sir?
I lived by myself.
And who did Miss Kerner live with?
She lived by herself.
And then she moved away?
Yes.
And you continued to see her?
Yes.
Tell me about that.
Well, we became good friends, and when she moved away, we just carried on our friendship. She would come by and see me. I would go by and see her.
It wasn't a romantic relationship?
No.
Not romantic?
No.
Not intimate, just friends?
Just friends.
Okay. Tell me about the car loan.
Well, she came by my apartment one day, and she had an electric bike, and the bike, she said it was no good anymore. I said, well, would you like some more transportation? And she said, yes. I said, I can loan you $1,000 to buy you a vehicle if you pay me back. And she says, okay, I could take that loan. And I said, can you pay me back within 6 months because I was going to drunk driving school. I said, I'm going to graduate from drunk driving school in 6 months, so I need the money because I need to buy me a car.
You said I can loan you $1,000. Did you go with Miss Kerner to find a car?
Yes, Your Honor.
How did you get there?
One of her friends drove us. It was at a tow yard. It wasn't in the city of San Jose. It was right outside the city.
And did you have check or cash?
I had cash.
And you acknowledged that he put down $1,000 for the car?
Put down? Well,
I didn't say loan,
okay.
Miss Kerner. I said you acknowledged that he put down $1,000 for the car.
He was there, yes.
How much? No, not he was there. he put down $1,000 for the car.
Yeah.
Okay. And you paid a total of $1,700 for the car?
It probably totaled up after paying for the registration and stuff, okay? Because it was $1,250. Okay. And then he said that he was going to pay for the car and stuff, for the gas, because I didn't want a car. I was content with my bike, but he insists. So that's where the 7 comes in, because he wants me to pay back for the registration, the car.
How much did you pay?
Nothing.
So he paid the whole thing?
Yeah, he wanted it, yeah.
He only says he loaned you $1,000.
No. Well, if that's what he's saying, that's what he's saying, okay? But it came up to $1,250. And then the 17, it totals out, I guess, out for 17, I don't know how, but it totals out for the registration. So that's probably where it comes for $1,700.
How much did you put down on the car?
$1,000.
Well, where'd you get the other money from?
I don't know.
Well, you say in your complaint that she purchased the car, she found the car for $1,700. So I'm asking you, if you gave her $1,000, did she come up with $700?
I guess so.
Oh, my God. I'm getting very, very confused. All right. Now, Miss Kerner, Mr. Drake says that you were friends. Mm-hmm. You describe him in your answer as a Sancho.
A Sancho.
Sancho, what is that?
That's your, I guess people call it friends with benefits nowadays.
Friends with benefits.
Mm-hmm.
So are you suggesting that he had benefits?
Oh, yeah.
And is that why you used to bike ride to his house?
Yeah.
Shh. Clearly it was forgettable for him. Do you still have the car?
Oh, yes, ma'am.
What do you use it for?
For, like to go to the grocery store. I don't drive very much. So to go to the grocery store or to go and see my kids or take the dogs to the park. I don't work. So.
Now, you have a sister? You have some sisters?
I have 4 sisters, Your Honor.
Did you invite Miss Kerner to travel at some point to your sisters for a party?
Well, we went down to Atlanta, Georgia on April 28th because my sister was her retirement party. And we was also gonna go to Flint, Michigan on July 21st for my sister's birthday.
Okay. Did there come a time when Miss Kerner delivered some dresses to you for your sisters?
Yeah, she delivered some dresses to me so we can take to Flint, Michigan on July 31st. But I was upset with her because she never even made me one payment. So I put them in the hallway, and I guess somebody took them. I did not throw them away or destroy them.
Well, you got rid of them if you put them in the hallway, sir.
Derek Drake claims his former girlfriend, Rosevita Waynes Kerner, owes for an unpaid car loan. Rosevita is countersuing Derek for the cost of designer dresses.
Where did you get the dresses from?
I got them from my mom. They were willed to me because she had passed.
So they were used dresses?
No, they weren't used dresses. Because
But you didn't buy them?
No, but they weren't used. My mom was a shopaholic, and so she left me these wonderful dresses, but they were for taller women. His sisters were tall. I'm not going to send no junky, trashy dresses to, impress his family with, And so they're all name brand, nice dresses, really pretty. Ask him, he's seen them all,
They were beautiful.
I'm not going to send nothing tacky. And so I asked him for the dresses back when he copped his attitude, and he told me he put them out in the hall.
He copped an attitude about what?
About the car.
What about the car?
Okay, let me tell you what happened, okay? I have this fatal attraction person that's like all up in my grill. I want nothing to do with him. So he got a hold of his phone number, called him, told him I was driving all these men around town, and he copped the attitude about me driving, and which I was not, because I don't like to drive. I'm 61 years old. Why am I gonna drive some dudes around town for? They're gonna drive me around town and take me to go eat. So he copped the attitude, and then I found out I'm getting paper in the mail about I'm being sued. Okay, and then I asked him 4 days later, I says, because I waited, maybe he's gonna call or something. He didn't. And then I asked him about the dresses. And that's when he told me he put them out. I says, why you put those dresses out? Why didn't you just call me? And he just, I don't have to call you, blah, 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 blah. Well, so I just turned around and walked away.
Tell me about the car.
Okay.
He told me his version about the car.
Okay, so the car, he kept on telling me, Rose, let me buy you a car. Let me get you a car. I'm going to get you a car. I'm going to get you a car. No, I'm cool. I don't want the car. I'm happy with my bike because I don't drive.
Okay, after you bought the car, did you drive in the car to go to any vacations with his family?
No, because his family's not here. But we did drive to the airport. That's what the main thing was, just to go to the airport, get us there, and then when we get back, the car was there, so we can drive back home.
Where did you go? From what to the airport? When you went to the airport, where did you travel to?
To the airport.
And then where did you go?
To Atlanta.
From where?
From San Jose.
Who purchased the tickets?
He did.
Is that right?
Yes, ma'am.
How come you bought tickets to take her anywhere? She was just because she was a friend?
Because she was a very good friend.
How much is a very good friend?
Well, I wanted her to meet my sisters down in Atlanta, Georgia, because
Why?
she was retiring, and I just wanted her to meet them.
Why?
Why?
Yeah, if she was just a friend, that doesn't make sense to me.
Well, she was a close friend,
How close?
very close, and I just wanted her to meet my family.
Okay, she was a very close friend.
Yes, ma'am. Yes, Your Honor.
Got it. Okay. You see, he's more chivalrous than you are.
Oh, okay.
He's more chivalrous than you are. Anything else either one of you want to tell me? Did you get angry, by the way? You saw something that was written somewhere that she was driving with men in the car. Who told you that?
I guess one of her friends called me up and told me all this. But
Don't tell me you guess.
I got upset because she wasn't paying back the loan.
Nah, I don't think so. How much were the tickets from California to
They were
Atlanta?
$1,600.
That's very expensive.
Yes, it is. Yes, it is.
$1,600 for both?
Yes.
And when you got there, where did you stay?
We stayed at my sister's house in Atlanta.
The next trip that you were supposed to take, did you have to fly there for the retirement
Yes,
party?
we was gonna go to Flint, Michigan on July 21st for my sister's birthday.
How were you going to get there?
We was gonna fly.
And you were going to buy the tickets?
Yes.
Sounds like a very good friend.
Very good, yes. But we never took that trip.
I understand. Did you drive anywhere else with Miss Kerner in the car?
No.
Did she take you to work?
No.
Did she take you anyplace else? Did you go out for dinner?
No.
She just drove back and forth to your house.
Yes, Your Honor.
And when she drove back and forth to your house, did she ever stay over?
No.
She came at what time, and what time did she leave when she would come to visit?
She would come at around 1 o'clock in the morning. She would leave about 2 or 3.
Got it.
Okay.
Okay, Mr. Drake, I know that you were probably annoyed that you heard from her friend that she was using this car that you purchased for her, and she was taking other people around in the car. So I know that was probably an annoyance for you, but that doesn't create a loan. I don't believe it was a loan, Mr. Drake. I think she's more accurate, and you learn something new every day. Sancho.
Yeah.
Okay, which I believe is probably accurate. And you have no value on these dresses. There is no...
Yes, I pulled them up online, okay? And what they look like, you know,
And you gave them away. You gave them to him.
well, yeah, to his, you know, to give to his sisters,
Okay.
not to throw away.
You're not getting any money from him.
Okay, that's fine.
Okay?
I'm
Okay.
good with it.
You got a car out of it, right?
Yeah.
Thank you. Have a
But
good
it's just a point, Judge, that's all.
Have a good day.
Thank you.
This court
You
is
too.
adjourned.
I know I didn't win and she didn't win, but life goes on. You know, life is good. It's just another day.
Well, it's all good with me. I mean, hell, I got a free car out of it.
How she was driving other guys around in the car that I bought, that I paid for.
Hell no.
But I found out later on that they were just making that up.
Because he had said, when I would go see him, he had said, you know, oh, you driving all kinds of men in the car?
I asked her and she said no, and I found out that she was telling the truth.
I'm all like, dude, why am I gonna be driving dudes around in my car?
I guess you could say that I am her Sancho.
No Sancho for me, no more. I'm good.
You know, when you asked him what time his friend came to visit him when she upgraded from the electric bike to the car, I had my pencil ready. I was ready to write, you know, after work or maybe before if she was going to take him. You know, the normal hours, 1 to 2 in the morning.
that was
You know, you learn something new every day.
I certainly did. I learned what a Sancho was.
Okay, yeah.
Two brothers fighting with each other. And you went upstairs and retrieved your gun.
To use it in self-defense if he was going to choke me again.
That never happened.
I had been choked 3 times.
When he was pointing a gun at me and my son, I had to put him behind me just in case he decided to fire a shot off.
Really? This child was there.
This is Judy Justice. Shay McNulty and Amanda Warren are suing Shay's brother, Desmond Fairbanks, for lost wages, hotel bills, and injuries from an assault.
Court come to order. All rise.
Have a seat, please.
Hello, Judge. Case number 3091, McNulty Warner versus Fairbanks.
Got it. Mr. McNulty, this is your brother,
Yes, ma'am.
and this is your fiancée.
Correct.
And the two of you were living in your grandfather's house.
Yes, ma'am.
Who was also your grandfather.
Yes, ma'am.
Also living in the house was your son,
No, we had not moved in at that moment.
but you were planning on moving in with your son.
Yes, ma'am.
An incident occurred when you came to the house,
Yes.
and your brother and Miss Warren were there, and there was an altercation on May 8th
Yes.
of last year. Mr. McNulty, you work as a security guard,
Yes, Your Honor.
and you're licensed to carry a gun.
I have a CCW, concealed carry weapons license.
And how long have you had that?
Over 1.5 years as of today.
I'm going to do a general picture. You came with your son.
Yes.
I don't know whether to look at the room that you were going to move into. The two of you have a history of not getting along, or just,
We just don't talk. I don't really associate with them anymore.
well, prior to May 8th, you didn't associate with
Yes.
them either.
Yes.
Okay. I want you to tell me what happened when your brother arrived with his son.
Well, when they got there on May 8th, it was about 9:30, 10 o'clock in the morning.
Did you know that they were moving in?
We found out 2 weeks prior it was brought to our attention, but there was no specific date.
Okay, so who told you?
He notified us first via face-to-face conversation while he was at the house the previous day prior to the incident taking
Okay,
place.
so you knew they were coming. And on May 8th, they arrived in the morning.
Yes.
And your fiancé was less than pleased that they were there.
Yes.
Okay. And is there any particular reason why your fiance was less than pleased that your brother was coming to his grandfather's house?
Just because of the comment that she made that people show up unannounced without us knowing or surprising us.
It's not her house.
I understand. No, she was just upset that he showed up. And then that's when she had made the comment that people show up unannounced, and that was what started the events.
Yeah. She should probably butt out of business that doesn't involve her. Does your fiance work?
Yes, she does.
Does she contribute to the household? In what way
Yes.
does she contribute?
We were paying the utilities for the house. That was it, because the house is paid off.
But your grandfather lives there, does he not?
Yes, he does.
He doesn't charge you rent?
No, he only said pay half the utilities. And
Okay,
that was
so
all
he
required.
doesn't charge you rent. You'd have to pay all the utilities if you lived someplace else.
Yes, correct.
So there's an altercation on May 8th because your fiance starts up with your brother, who clearly you knew was coming 2
Yes.
weeks before.
Yes, 2 weeks, yes.
And you're going to tell me about this combat that took place. But at some point, you left this place where you were all fighting with each other, and you went upstairs and retrieved your gun.
Yes, my firearm out of the safe.
And when you came downstairs, the police were there.
Not at the time, Your Honor.
What did you do with the gun when you came downstairs with the gun? You retrieved the gun.
Yes, Your Honor.
You went downstairs, and what was your intention to do with the gun?
At that time, my intention was to use it in self-defense if he was going to choke me again. I had been choked 3 times.
Now, you've extricated yourself from this situation. You managed to go upstairs. You could also go outside.
Yes.
You could go anywhere. But you went upstairs to get a gun
Yes.
to bring downstairs. And you weren't in danger when you were upstairs, right?
Correct.
So then you come downstairs, police arrive, and they arrest you.
Yes.
And they arrest you on what charges?
The original 3 charges were assault, domestic violence, and aggravated menacing.
Did you point the gun at your brother?
After he tried
Just
to...
a second.
Yes.
The answer is yes.
Yes, Your Honor.
You have to understand.
Yes, Your Honor.
Once you're able to withdraw from a situation that clearly was precipitated by her, but you're able to withdraw from it, you can't go someplace else and get a gun and come down and shoot him or menace him because you have an alternative. And your alternative is you're safe. You're upstairs. Lock yourself in a bathroom. Go out the back door. You subsequently pled guilty. You got a deal. They gave you, according to you, a disorderly conduct.
Yes, Your Honor.
As a result of the same incident. I don't care what you pled guilty to. You pled guilty. And now you're suing him for the following. Hotel bills, because you and your fiance had to move out of your grandfather's house where you weren't paying rent. That's part of your lawsuit.
Yes.
That's dismissed. Lost wages. Well, you had lost wages because you work as a security guard. In order to work as a security guard, you need a gun, correct?
No, I'm unarmed.
Really?
Yes, I'm unarmed.
So what did you need a gun for?
Shay McNulty and Amanda Warren claim Shay's brother, Desmond Fairbanks, owes for injuries resulting from an assault. Desmond is countersuing, saying he was assaulted by Shay.
So what did you need a gun for?
At that time, after I was choked 3 times, it was in case I needed it. I had retreated back into the house to get away from him, and he followed me the third time.
No. I thought you needed the gun for your job because you're also suing for lost wages.
No, the gun has nothing to do with my job. I'm unarmed security for the state of Ohio.
Okay, so then what did he have to do with you being out of work for 5 months?
Because he called my boss and told him, and I also have a statement from my boss saying that he did receive a call from him, and because he did call him, that he has to suspend me without pay.
Because you brandished a gun.
No, it was just because of the fact...
No, he told your boss that you had brandished a gun.
I don't know if he told him that.
Well, why do you think you were suspended from your job?
Because he called them to make them aware of the situation, and
Yeah.
because I am a security officer, I have a guard card. The Homeland Security suspended it because I was away from work. He had called my boss and spoke to him directly.
That's all right. He's allowed to do that. You pled guilty. If you pled guilty to disorderly conduct, you pled guilty to being the aggressor. Whether it was an assault or an attempted assault, a battery, you pled guilty. That's the same thing as being found guilty by a jury. He's allowed to call your boss and say, you don't want this guy around. He's got a gun. And he came downstairs and he was brandishing the gun, threatening me, menacing me. And I had a child there with me, a 5-year-old child. His child was there, right?
His child was outside.
His child was there.
Off of the property. But yes, he was there.
Well, of
He was
course.
off of the property.
What do you mean off the property? He was in somebody else's house?
No, he was outside sitting on a tailgate on the street in the truck, in the back of the truck bed. He wasn't on the property when this incident happened. He wasn't around to...
You mean he was alone by himself?
Yes.
Out there, 5 years old?
Yes.
Is that correct?
No, Your Honor, that's not correct. When he was pointing a gun at me and my son, I had to put him behind me just in case he decided to fire a shot off.
Where were you when he pointed the gun?
On our back porch steps.
Outside.
Yes, ma'am.
Were you both on the back porch?
Myself, my son, him, and Amanda were all on the back steps at that moment. He had the gun.
Okay. So he's allowed to call your boss. I don't think that you should have a gun anyway. If you think that you had the right under these circumstances to go up, get it, come down, and brandish it. Okay, lost wages he doesn't owe you. If you got suspended from your job, if you got fired from your job, so be it. Hotel bills. Why do you think he should pay your hotel bills? I'll get to the incident in a second, maybe. Why do you think he should pay your hotel bills?
Because we were essentially illegally thrown out. We didn't receive any type of notice, and there was a protective
It's not
order.
his house, it's your grandfather's house. Why don't you sue your grandfather?
If my grandfather wasn't there to witness
It doesn't make any difference. He can't throw you out of the house. Only your grandfather can throw you out. Did your grandfather throw you out?
No, he didn't throw me out, but my mother was the one who told her while I was in jail that she didn't want us living there, but she doesn't live there. She gets the house when my
Just a
grandfather
second.
passes away.
She is the daughter of your grandfather. So she told you on your grandfather's behalf to get out of the house. What are you suing him for? He can't tell you to get out of the house. Only the owner can tell you to get out of the house. And the fact that he doesn't have to give you any notice, he doesn't own it. You get it?
Yes, Your Honor.
Hotel bills. You have to start taking care of yourself. What kind of work do you do other than a security guard?
Yeah, I had to start up a small business while I was doing this to supplement my income.
Good. And what
to
does your
make-
girlfriend do?
She works customer service
Where?
at a retail store, big box store.
Okay, so you have enough money to pay rent someplace, to go find someplace, pay rent, and live like two adults. How old are you?
I'm 36, Your Honor.
And you?
36.
Well, then, live like grown-ups. Don't live in your grandfather's house. Go pay rent.
We moved there to help his grandfather because he's 86 years old. He needed help around the house.
Well, evidently not anymore.
He just asked us to move in. I moved her out of her house into his house, and we moved in. He just said that
When? How
February.
long?
this was
12th.
February 12th of 2023.
Okay, so you moved in February.
We were
and
there
you were
for a
told
total
to
of
leave.
3 months.
What?
We were there for, I believe, a total of 3 months, from February to May.
Okay. So you have to find yourself a place to live. Actual damages for assault. Now, you pled guilty, so I'm not interested in whatever assault took place. You pled guilty to being the aggressor in this incident. Are you claiming that you were assaulted as a result of this?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, so now tell me exactly in your words how the defendant assaulted you.
He had Mr. McNulty in a chokehold.
Just a second. That's not how it started. It started because you said to him...
I made a comment under my breath. People like to show up unannounced. He didn't like what I had to say.
What did he say to you?
He got in my face and said, "What did you say? What the hell did you say? I want to hear what you have to say." And that's when Mr. McNulty stepped in between us, put his arms out and said, "Hey, don't talk to her like that. Just go in the house. Just go in the house. She wasn't talking to you."
You were talking to him. You were talking
Not
to him.
directly. Not directly.
You were nasty.
But at that point, Mr. Fairbanks pushed him down the step. They got into a physical altercation.
When you said that your fiancé separated you, explain to me exactly how that happened.
So Mr. Fairbanks was standing in front of me. Mr. McNulty jumped in between us and put his arms out and said, "Hey, that's enough. Don't talk
Just a
to her
second.
like that."
Okay, put his hands out. Didn't touch anybody.
No.
Okay, and then what happened?
And then Mr. Fairbanks laid his hands on Mr. McNulty first and pushed him down the step.
Is that correct?
No, Your Honor, it's not correct.
Okay, but we're not talking about his assault, okay? He pled guilty to whatever happened that day. I want to hear how he assaulted you.
I'm getting to that.
Well, get there.
So he had attacked Mr. McNulty from behind and got him in a chokehold, kind of blindsided him. So at that point, I was like, okay, what do I do? I had to pull Mr. Fairbanks off of Mr. McNulty.
How did you do that?
I was on the phone with 911, kind of got my arm around him.
Got your arm around his what?
His face. I was trying to pull him off of Mr. McNulty.
use your fiance as an example of how you tried to pull him off. Show me on him.
So he was on top of Mr. McNulty. He had his back to me. So I, came up and tried to pull him off.
You put your arm around his neck.
Not his neck.
On his what?
Like right here, right in this area. I didn't put it around his neck.
Okay.
At that point, he turned around, pushed me in the face, and pushed me down the back porch stairs.
And?
Which resulted in me going to the hospital. I was 8 months out of an ACL reconstruction at that point. And when I hit the ground, the impact from hitting the ground damaged that knee that I had just had fixed.
Did you put your hands on him first?
Shay McNulty and Amanda Warren are accusing Shay's brother, Desmond Fairbanks, of owing for injuries resulting from an assault. Desmond is countersuing, claiming he was the one assaulted.
Did you put your hands on him first?
To pull him off, yes.
I don't care what you did. Did you put your hands on him first? You had two brothers fighting with each other.
We're not fighting. He was choking him.
Okay. And you put your hands on him first?
To get him off, yes.
Okay. And he pushed you off?
He threw me down the stairs.
Well, you got your hands around him. I want you to explain to me how he threw you down the stairs.
He let go of Mr. McNulty, stood up, turned around, put his hand in my face, and threw me down the stairs.
Okay. Now I'd like to see your hospital records.
I have private insurance.
No. Hospital records. This happened on May 8th, so I want to see your records from May 8th. That hospital record. Yeah, they gave you Tylenol.
They did a lot of x-rays.
They gave you Tylenol.
Yeah, but if you look in the description, it says that there's possible loosening of an ACL screw.
I have no idea, madam. You have a counterclaim.
Yes, Your Honor.
Your counterclaim is for assault and actually menacing. You say threatening the life of myself and my son. You actually mean menacing with a gun. Is that what you're talking about?
Yes, Your Honor.
Okay. I would like you to tell me how you were assaulted and what your injuries were.
Assaulted by Mr. McNulty, and I was defending myself against him, walking through the gates with my child right behind me. She did make a comment under her breath. I guess anyone can just show up unannounced. I did not get in her face at that point. Mr. McNulty pretty much got in my face, started pushing me away. There was no type of trying to separate us. That never happened, trying to separate us. We went straight into fighting with each other. Tried to defend myself because my son was directly behind me. I didn't want him getting hurt, try to keep myself protected. So I did everything I could to make that happen.
Do you have any injuries as a result of that?
Yes, Your Honor, I did receive a busted lip, a couple of scratches on my neck.
Do you have any photographs?
Yes,
and you have
I do,
a police
Your Honor.
report. I'd like to see it. How did you get the busted lip?
Busted lip was from Mr. McNulty when he did punch me in the face.
Do you have any photographs of your injuries, sir?
Your Honor, I did not have any injuries because I was simply...
Just a second, I'm just asking you.
No, I do not, Your Honor.
You do not?
I do not have any injuries.
Yeah. Your son wasn't injured, was he?
Thankfully, he was not. I did my best to keep him behind me as much as possible.
Did you have to hire a lawyer, sir? Did you hire a lawyer to defend you in this proceeding, this criminal proceeding?
Yes.
Where you pled guilty?
Yes, I did have a lawyer.
Did you have a public defender or did you hire a lawyer?
I had a personal lawyer.
And how much did you pay him?
It was free. I pay a membership for a gun lawyer. They protect you against gun thefts. It's a program for gun advocates. They hire a lawyer. You get up to a $50,000 bail if you go to jail and a firearm or something like that is involved.
Who hit you?
Physically punched me, Mr. McNulty. All the scratches came from Miss Warren.
Are you still living at your grandfather's house?
Yes, Your Honor, I am.
Where does your mother live?
My mother lives in her house.
You live there with your son?
My son comes and goes between me and his mother.
How is your grandfather?
Grandfather's doing pretty well. He still goes to work every single day, takes care of himself.
What kind of work does he do?
He is a retired mechanic, and now in his free time, he works across the street at the cemetery. He likes to keep it going.
Got it. Okay. Mr. McNulty, Miss Warren, your claim against the defendant for money owed for lost wages, hotel bills, and assault is dismissed in its entirety.
I have photos of my injuries.
I
as
don't
well.
care.
And I had to have a knee replacement as a result of him throwing.
Get me an expert. You can tell that story to somebody else.
I have pictures of the knee replacement.
Did you hear what I said?
Yes, ma'am.
You get an expert here. You don't get $10,000 because you say, I had to have a knee replacement. How do I know that you had to have a knee replacement? You had a pre-existing injury. And you precipitated this whole thing, and you put your hands on him first. You put your hands on him first.
What is someone supposed to do when someone's being choked?
I don't know. But if you put your hands on him first, he's going to react to you. He's going to react to you. And he had no physical injury. Zero, according to him. So you put your hands on him first. If he turns around and shoves you down the stairs, well, that's what happens when you put your hands on somebody. Somebody gets the short end of the stick in an assault. And just because you may have gotten the short end of the stick doesn't give you the right to put your hands on him. Aside from the fact that your big mouth started this whole thing between the two brothers anyway. Judgment on the counterclaim for $5,000 for both the assault, which I see pictures of, and for menacing with the gun. We're done.
This court is adjourned.
I think it was very unfair, and I think that my brother essentially lied and did not tell the complete truth.
She kind of came up with a story on her own, and she saw the truth, and that's all that matters.
Once he came down and did not present himself as a threat, the firearm was set down and pointed to the side. Yes, I did point it at him, but that was when he was still showing signs of aggression and trying to force himself back into the house. It was then pointed at him and let him know that the door was locked for his safety and ours, and if he comes in and continues to aggress towards me, I would shoot him in self-defense.
Looking down the barrel of a gun, having that gun pointed at my son's face, I definitely did not want him to go through that. I definitely didn't want to go through that, and I hope he can definitely forget that and never remember this day at all.
If he was going to continue to harm me and cause me to fear for my life, yes. At that point in time, it doesn't matter related or not. If you cause me to fear for my life, yes. In self-defense, I have that right, and I oblige by it.
Just glad we could put this behind us now.
He had him in a rear chokehold. I mean, you don't walk up behind somebody and choke them just for giggles, you know what I mean?
It didn't happen how she said it did.
I still don't associate with them or my mother as well. If anything, we're actually going to grow further apart, and I'm perfectly okay with that, and my life's going to continue on, and business as usual.
It's time to go separate ways.
So something so interesting was that in his papers, it said that he had pled guilty, and there wasn't much discussion about him hiring a lawyer, or like you said, whether he had a public defender. I've never heard of a club to be a part of to keep lawyers on retainer solely for the purpose of firearm charges and people with firearms getting into trouble to get them out of it. But apparently it must have worked because he got his gun back the next day or a few...
No. He got his gun back after he pled guilty, which took 5 months.
Yeah, no, after he had pled guilty.
After he pled guilty.
Very quickly was he returned his gun.
Because he pled guilty to a misdemeanor. If he had had a felony, he wouldn't have been able to get his gun back.
But that's an interesting setup for gun owners and gun enthusiasts.
Yeah, I never heard of it before.
Me neither.
To have somebody that you pay and probably pay him $50 a month, and it's a whole club and everybody pays him, and hopefully he doesn't get tapped too often. You find out something new every day. Concierge gun lawyer. Interesting.
You have a barbershop business. The defendant left your employment.
Correct. I opened my own business.
You signed this non-compete agreement.
Yes, I did, but under duress.
You cannot open up a competing business 2.8 miles away from her.
This is crazy.
That's what she's entitled to do. She's the boss, applesauce.
This is Judy Justice. Nicole Messino is suing her former employee, Felicia Stella, for breach of contract, slander, and loss of income.
Court come to order. All rise.
Have a seat, please.
Hello, Judge. Case number 3095, Messino versus Stella.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Miss Messino, you have a barbershop business.
Correct.
How long have you had it?
Since 2016.
How many people did you have working for you when you had the most people working for you, the most barbers working for you?
Currently, right now, I own 2 barbershops, and right now I have 11 employees.
When did you purchase the second shop?
The middle of December.
2023.
2023, yes.
The defendant worked in the initial shop.
That's correct.
Starting when?
In 2017.
Until when?
Until August 6th of 2022.
From what I read, all of the people that worked for you up until a particular time, and that would probably be around 2022, were 1099 employees, which means they were independent contractors. So at the end of the year, you gave them a Form 1099, they took care of their own taxes.
Correct.
At some point, according to you, you decided to make everyone employees.
Correct.
And at that time, you also decided to have all of your people sign agreements. And the agreements provided that they could not open up a barber business within a certain radius of your business.
Correct.
The defendant left your employment and opened up her own barbershop.
Correct.
She left your employ on August the 6th of 2022?
Correct.
And when did you open up your own barbershop, Miss Della?
October 25th of 2023.
October 25.
Oh, no, I'm sorry. It was 2022. I apologize.
May I see a copy of the contract that you had with Miss Stella? Because what you're suing for is breach of contract.
Correct.
This contract and slander. Well, you signed this agreement, madam.
Yes, I did, but
Okay,
under duress.
Just a second. I didn't ask you anything. You signed this agreement. I mean, I understand what you are alleging. You're alleging that you signed it under duress. Now, Sarah, would you look up for me non-compete agreements, Pennsylvania?
Sure.
The Pennsylvania law on the parameters of a non-compete. How many miles?
It's 3 to 5 miles in the state of Pennsylvania.
Oh, well, that's what Sarah's going to check.
I'll let you know. Give me 1 second.
Okay, so you signed this non-compete agreement. It is your defense that she threatened to terminate you if you didn't sign it. That's your defense
No, I didn't.
to this.
And more.
Yes.
There's more than that as well.
But that's your defense to this, to signing this agreement, that she said either you sign it
Yes, ma'am.
or I'm going to fire you.
Yes, ma'am.
Well, that's okay. She could do that. It's our business.
In the state of Pennsylvania, there's contract law. There's three things that go with that. There's an offer, and then there's an acceptance and consideration.
Let me explain something to you. The laws of contract in every jurisdiction are the same. There has to be initially an offer, an acceptance, and consideration. That forms the basis of any contract.
Yes, ma'am.
There is an offer, an acceptance, and consideration.
No.
Absolutely, there is here. It's not as if Miss Stella, she said to you, if you don't sign this agreement, I'm going to amputate your arm at the elbow.
Okay.
That's different. She's allowed to say to you, I'm not hiring anybody or maintaining in my employment anybody who doesn't sign a non-compete clause. They're perfectly valid.
Okay.
And she's allowed to say that to you. You're allowed to leave. This is America. And she's allowed to fire you. She's the boss. She's allowed to say to you, in my shop from now on, everybody has to wear a uniform. I don't want to wear a uniform. Then you're fired. You don't have a right to a job unless you meet the requirements of your employer. The only question that I have is how many miles?
So there's not a set radius. It's all about reasonableness. The geography must feature a limited geography, for example, within a defined area such as a city, normally unenforceable to prohibit employees from working for any competitor across the country.
No,
but as long as it's
that's too onerous.
Exactly. But as long as it's a defined geography, it tends to be reasonable.
Okay. So what you're saying, Ms. Stella, is that you have proof that in the state of Pennsylvania, it either has to be 3 or 5 miles. It can't be both.
It just says between 3 to 5 miles. I do not have that proof. I apologize.
How many miles is the shop that you opened up from her shop?
It's 2.8 miles away.
Well, that's too close, madam. She's absolutely right. You breached her contract.
Okay. If I took her clients, then I
No, you
breached it.
breached her contract. It says that you cannot open a competing business for 5 years, and you certainly fall within the radius. You violated this contract.
Okay.
She's absolutely right.
All right.
When you left in August of 2022, where did you go?
I left. I didn't have anywhere to go.
So when was the next time you worked?
When I opened my own business.
And when you opened your own business, that was 3 months later.
Yes, sure was.
Don't be snippy, Miss Stella. It was 3 months later. How many of her barbers came with you?
3. 4 of us.
3.
3 total. 4 total.
4 total, you and 3 others. Mm-hmm. Is not
Yes,
an answer.
ma'am.
Yes is the answer.
I'm sorry.
Yes,
Yes,
is an
ma'am.
answer. And the 3 others, did any of them come from her shop?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, so, well, it's a breach of contract. It's clear.
They all left on their free will.
Okay.
I can't do I apologize.
Breach of contract. You have a counterclaim, which is interesting. And your counterclaim is for money owed for defamation of character, slander, harassment, and emotional distress.
Yes, ma'am.
I'm not interested in the signing of this agreement.
Okay.
I'm interested in how you claim the plaintiff defamed you.
Well, her and her husband had a whole conversation about me on Facebook, ma'am.
Just a second. I'm not interested in her husband.
Okay.
I'd like to see what you claim she did to defame you.
She proceeded to write emails to my family.
Just a second. All I have to do is see what you claim she did to defame you.
It says that I have a current
Kevin,
record.
would you please get what she says she believes is actionable? Maybe.
She said I was stealing company time.
Hold on. Could you please just hand it to me?
Yeah. And I've been manipulating people, Your Honor.
Don't speak. Julia. And who is Julia?
My sister.
Okay. You wrote an email to Julia.
I wrote a heartfelt email
Just a
to
second.
Julia.
Just say what who cares? Next.
I do, because I'm a recovering
just a
addict.
second.
And for
Just
you to
a
go
second.
out and
Just
say
a
those
second.
things.
She's allowed to write a private communication to somebody. That's
a
not
third party?
published. That's not
That's
published.
not
You
true?
say she's defamed you publicly. She's allowed to write whatever she wants in a private letter to
She
somebody.
stopped a police officer and lawyer on the street and told him that I was using drugs, actively using
Would you?
drugs.
Just a second. If you have that person here, I'll actually hear them.
Right.
But you don't. I'd like to see what you claim is actionable that she wrote about you. You said she posted something on Facebook. Well, Facebook is a public forum.
Yes, it is.
A letter to your sister is not a public forum. All I care about is what she wrote. Fine. Oh, she says the cancer is gone and the entire aura of the shop has changed. The dark cloud is gone. It's almost a clean slate with your new employees. You can expand and turn Giovanni's into a barbershop powerhouse. It was meant to me. What defamation is that? You talk. What?
The cancer. Like, I'm not a cancer.
Okay.
This is crazy.
Oh.
She went around and told people that I was actively using hard drugs, ma'am.
Madam!
Okay.
Nicole Messino claims her former employee, Felicia Stella, breached their contract and stole her customers. Felicia is countersuing for harassment, slander, and defamation.
If you bring me a witness, I will hear you. I'm not hearing what she told a policeman on the street or what she told strangers. Nothing that you've shown me that was published is defamation. What else?
I was countersuing also for mental anguish. Your Honor, I am a recovering heroin addict, and I am open about that. And I tell
she's
people
using
that.
drugs.
And
Just a second. You have to understand, I didn't say that, and good for you if you got your life back on track. Terrific for you. But in order to have emotional distress, you have to have somebody who's guilty of something that's illegal or against the rule of civil law. So far, you have nothing. This doesn't say anything, that the cancer is gone and the aura of my shop is now different. You may have been hurt about it, but that's not actionable. Do you understand?
I do. I thought because there was a full conversation, that was my misunderstanding, that there was a whole conversation between her and her husband on social media with my name in it. So that was,
Sorry. And you breached your contract with Stella.
Right.
Your Honor, may I say something?
About what?
About the contract, and because I am also a former employee of hers.
No, you can't. Did you sign a contract?
I did.
She threatened to fire you if you didn't sign it?
Correct.
That's what she's entitled to do. She's the boss, applesauce. She's the boss. People in this country think that they're entitled to jobs. Once you have a job, you're entitled to keep it. Pay attention. You're entitled to fire anybody that works for you. I can look at Kevin and I can say, you know what? Last year I loved you. This year not so much. You're fired. He has a contract. I have to pay him out of his contract. I would never say that to him because I adore him. But he's capable of being fired. He's capable of being fired for anything other than a violation of the Constitution, which means you're being fired for race, religion, sexual orientation, probably a couple of other things that I've forgotten, some of which I think are absolute nonsense. But they're entitled to fire you if you refuse to sign an agreement that prohibits you from stealing their clients and their employees. They're absolutely
We were independent
entitled.
I was an independent contractor for 8 years. Tell me how they were her clients. They were not her clients.
You violated the terms of the contract. You cannot open up a competing business 2.8 miles away from her within
She tried to make me
3 months.
unemployable.
Judgment for the plaintiff in the amount of $10,000. You count the claims dismissed. We're done.
This court is adjourned.
Apparently, I was a cancer that worked there. Apparently, people didn't like me.
I think it was very fair. She signed a non-compete.
When I quit, so did 5 other of her staff members.
She turned all my employees against me, and she staged a walkout and took them because I was making changes to my business.
We're doing great. We're thriving. We're growing. And things have just been beautiful.
You know what? May the best business win because she pushed me to go further. I opened up a second barbershop in By Felicia.
You know, I still can't get past the fact, Sarah, that in this country now there's a sense of entitlement that once you start a job for a reason, for a non-reason, and we're not talking about the violations of
The Constitution.
the Constitution. We're talking about
Parameters set by bosses.
parameters. You have to be in at 9 o'clock. Well, but I can't because I get up late, I'll stay later. I can't be in by 9 o'clock. You're fired. Period.
Yeah.
I want you to continue to be my employee, but we're changing from 1099s to employees. If you don't sign this agreement, you're fired.
Yeah. As soon as I read the papers, I knew the defendant had misunderstood the definition of duress because it was smeared all over her answer that I only signed it under duress, duress this, duress that. Well, being offered the handbook of the place in which you are employed and being offered a choice of these are the new requirements. If you like it, great, sign it, and continue working. And if not, goodbye.
Yes.
And that's perfectly reasonable.
Yeah, but don't sign it, then go off and open up 2.8 miles away a competing business and take 3 people with you. Yeah, that's a no-no.
Now you're served with a restraining order by your mother.
Yes.
And in retaliation for that, she slashed your tires.
Right. She admitted to carrying the knife, Your Honor.
I can't ask her whether or not she slashed your tires. She's going to say no, right?
Yes.
She's going to get caught eventually. Right now, she's been clever, but she's not that clever.
This is Judy Justice.
Welcome.
Miss Brantley, you are in a relationship with the defendant's mother.
That is correct.
For how long?
Over a year now.
I assume that when you met the defendant's mother, the defendant was living with her mom.
That's correct, Your Honor.
It is your claim that at some point the defendant and you developed an acrimonious relationship, and that as a result of that, she was asked to leave the home, and in retaliation for that, she slashed your tires.
She was never asked to leave the home. She voluntarily decided she was going to leave the home.
Let's say that that's a given, but it is your claim that as a result of leaving the home, and there's no question she left the home because you were there.
We weren't sure exactly what the reason was. She didn't make a reason as to why she was leaving the home.
She left, and it is your claim that after she left, she slashed 3 of your tires.
That is correct, Your Honor.
Ms. Williams says she did not slash your tires, but that she still has property in the house that she shared with her mother before the 2 of you were in a relationship. Do you live together now?
Yes, ma'am.
When did the 2 of you move in together?
I moved into the home, I want to say the exact time frame was around April of 2023.
And when did you move out of the home, Ms. Williams?
I moved out June 28th of 2023.
So a couple of months later.
Yes.
Tell me the circumstances surrounding your leaving the home.
My mother texted me and said her girlfriend was feeling uncomfortable and she wanted to focus on her and her relationship, and I needed to go and focus on myself.
You have that email. I'd like to see it. Kevin.
Okay, so he's right there.
So you had this discussion with your mother, and what I'm gathering is that you and the plaintiff started to have some nasty texts back and forth?
There was no back and forth, Your Honor. She was just texting me nasty
And you
things.
have those texts?
Yes, ma'am, I do.
I'd
Your
like
Honor.
to take a look at them.
And she also had
your
other people
response
texting
to
me.
your mother is that bum paying bills?
Yes.
Okay. And then your mother tells you right now, time for you to go.
Yes.
And then you say, okay, I just want to grab my TV and bear.
Yeah, I want to at least grab that for tonight, and then I would have came back and got the
Just to
rest
say,
of my
well, this was I need to unlock the door so I can grab my TV and bear. I assume that's a teddy bear, not an animal?
No, it's a bear.
Okay. Let's see the text.
And I never responded to these texts, Your Honor. Thank you so much.
These are just phone messages. Okay.
Yes, ma'am. She put my number on social media, and people were texting me asking for sexual favors.
Just a second.
No problem, Your
You'll
Honor.
get there.
I apologize.
You'll get there.
Yes,
okay.
ma'am.
So you moved out.
Yes.
Now tell me about the tires.
She was moving out, had her things. We know she carries a knife. She's always showing it and bragging
Just a
about
second.
it.
She acknowledges she came back to the house with a knife. She acknowledges that. Is that correct?
Yes.
What kind of a knife?
It's a small pocket knife.
Show me. This I don't understand.
Yeah. Oh,
I
my
want
bad.
you to show me. Is it this
It's
size
this
when it's
big.
opened? So
Yes.
it's a little bit bigger.
Yeah, just a little bit bigger than that.
It's a little.
Just a small one that you can fit in your pocket. Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay. Well, that's a pretty big knife. Okay. So you came back to get your things, and you had the knife with you.
Yes.
Okay. Go ahead.
So we did not confront her while she was getting her things. We looked out the window. We could see her carrying the bags as she was dragging them down the walkway past the apartment building. That was maybe about 1 in. We woke up for work, I say maybe around 6:45 time frame. We go outside. The driver's side tire was completely flattened, and the left side passenger front and the rear passenger side tire, they both had tire slashes in them, and we had to get them all three replaced. They were unrepairable due to the puncture in those tires, Your Honor.
Okay.
And I have pictures and documentation for that as well.
The issue is not whether your tires were punctured, but whether you have proof that the defendant did it. The tires were fine when you went to sleep.
Yes, ma'am.
And then the defendant came after midnight,
Yes, ma'am.
collected her things in suitcases.
Mostly like bags, not really suitcases.
How did you get into the house that night? Almost not an answer. Did you have a key?
Yes.
Okay. And nobody had changed the locks.
They changed it the next day.
Nobody
they
had
made it.
changed the locks on you then.
Then, no.
So you were able to come and get things.
Yes.
So now you have to give me proof that she slashed your tires. You can imagine that she did, but what evidence do you have that she slashed your tires?
Your Honor, no one knows, other than the family, that I was living with them at the time in that area. I have no outstanding confrontational beef. I don't have any problems with anyone in the
anybody
neighborhood.
else?
No, ma'am. No, ma'am.
That's circumstantial, but insufficient in the law that she's the only one that you had a beef with, the fact that she was there. It's not enough evidence for any court, even a court where the quantum of proof is little, that she did in fact slash your tires. The evidence that you have is that you don't have a beef with anybody else, correct?
I don't have any, I didn't have any
And
negative
you
situation.
couldn't think of anybody else who would want to do that, and she was there in the vicinity that night.
Within the time frame, yes, ma'am, Your Honor. She left maybe around 1 o'clock. By 6 in, the tires were slashed.
Well, you weren't out at 1 o'clock in the morning. You went to sleep at what time?
Maybe around 2 a.m., 2:30 a.m.
And then you got up at 6?
Yes, ma'am.
But you hadn't been outside. When did you park the car?
I'm not sure of the exact time, Your Honor.
Was it before dinner or after dinner?
Probably before dinner.
And you have dinner at what time?
More than likely, maybe around 10:45 p.m.
10:45?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, so your car was parked before 10 o'clock, and the next time you saw it was 6 in the morning. Okay, well, that's a big window. I can't ask her whether or not she slashed your tires. She's going to say no, right?
Jasmine Brandley is suing her future stepdaughter, Nairia Williams, for defamation and the cost of 3 tires. Nairia is countersuing Jasmine for her belongings and lost wages.
I can't ask her whether or not she slashed your tires. She's going to say no, right?
Even if you look at the tires, you can tell the 3, only 1 is flat. If they all got slashed at the same time, they all would be flat.
If it's
But I did
1
not.
or 3. That's not the point.
I did not know.
She told others that she did admit to it.
I did not.
Oh, just a second. Who did she admit it to?
Her coworkers, also.
Oh, no.
friends.
Do you have a co-worker here? All I need is a witness.
My witness can confirm.
That she admitted it to them?
To other coworkers as well. They work at the same location, Your Honor.
Did your witness, did she admit to slashing the tires to your witness?
She's admitted to both me and my witness that she would do harm to us and to me.
Is this your witness?
Yes, ma'am. This is my fiance.
Your last name is?
Williams.
Miss Williams, this is your daughter.
Yes, ma'am.
You work at the same place?
Yes, Your Honor.
Okay. Did your daughter admit to you anything about the tire incident?
No.
Okay, sit down. Do you have a police report?
Yes, ma'am, I do.
I'd like to see the police report.
Yes, ma'am.
Did the police interview any witnesses?
No, ma'am. They said I had to file domestic violence restraining order, which I did.
Was that granted?
Yes, ma'am, it was.
I'd like to see that, too.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. Okay, you got a temporary restraining order you got on your own. She wasn't present when you first got it.
Correct.
Did you go back for a final hearing?
She never appeared.
So the answer is you went back.
3 times, Your Honor.
And she didn't appear?
She never appeared.
So it was granted on default?
Yes, ma'am.
I never received anything about going to court. The only paperwork they gave me was about the tires. They never presented me with anything.
What I have to tell you is this. Currently, there is a restraining order, that's what she says, against you. And if what you're telling me is you were not properly served, I would move to vacate that order because you're at risk if you don't. I don't actually believe that you weren't notified to come to court on 3 separate occasions. I think that you just decided to be a smart aleck and not go.
I really didn't know.
Really?
I knew my mother had one against me because the cop did mention that when he dropped the paper off.
When your mother filed a restraining order against you, then there was a return date. Did you go to court?
No,
is not an answer.
Oh,
Did you go to court? Now you're served with a restraining order by your mother, and you got a date. You ignored it.
No, they pushed it back. I didn't get a new court date. That's what I'm saying.
But did you ever go?
Because I had moved.
Just a second. Did you go to the first one?
No.
No, you didn't. You ignored it.
I didn't know about them.
No, you said you knew about the first one. You didn't know
and
about.
Then it got moved. I
Just a
wasn't able
second.
to get to it.
You knew about the first one.
Yes.
Yes, and you didn't go.
Yes, it got moved.
Right. No, had nothing to do with moving. If you knew about the first one, you knew you were supposed to be there the first date. You didn't go, and they adjourned it for another date to give you another opportunity to come. And then you said you moved. Then you say you didn't get the second date. Well, but you got the first date and you ignored it.
The date got moved. That's what I'm saying.
No, courts don't get moved up. They get pushed ahead, not moved up. They get pushed ahead if somebody doesn't appear. That would have been you. Didn't appear the first time. Are you trying to confuse me?
No,
because I'm old?
No, I would never want to do that.
So far, there are 2 protective orders. So your mother has one against you, too.
That's what the cop said, yes.
Your mother has one against you also.
Yeah, that's what the cop said.
Do you have a protective order?
So that's why I don't know what's going on all the way.
Miss Williams, did you file for a protective order against your daughter?
No.
You never did?
No, only my fiance did. I never did.
Oh, okay, fine. Now you can sit down. So the answer is, Miss Williams, your mother never filed for a protective order against you. Okay. Only the plaintiff.
All right.
Okay. So far, we don't have a confession, right?
We had the threats that were made, Your Honor.
To do you harm. That's
what she tried to do.
Okay. Miss Brantley?
Yes, ma'am.
It's not sufficient. I'm telling you, in all probability, Miss Williams, who's a little bit of a wise guy, did in fact slash your tires when she came to get her things. All probability that happened. But there's no evidence.
She admitted to carrying the knife, Your Honor.
Yes, I know. She told me. I saw it. She took a knife with her. It's not enough evidence to connect her to doing the damage to your car.
What about the credible threats, Your Honor? The threats that she made towards me?
You have a protective order against her, correct? If she violated that protective order, you go back to court and you file a violation of the order of protection. And if they find that that's true, she's going to go to jail for contempt of the order. That's your remedy. You have a protective order that lasts until when?
Right now, Your Honor, we're attempting to locate her. She's not responding to the summons officer's calls or texts.
I have not received
no calls. You don't know her
or texts.
address.
Don't speak. What does that mean? Do you currently have a protective order?
It expired temporarily. We could not summon her.
Oh, well, that's...
We don't know where she's located.
Okay.
I went to court 4 different occasions and she wouldn't appear. They could not locate her. And she's aware that we're trying to serve her.
Okay. You're suing her for 3 slash tires, which I can't find in good conscience that she did, even though probably in the back of my mind That I know that she did because there's insufficient proof. And the other cause of action is for defamation.
Correct.
What's the defamation?
She posted my cell number to social media requesting sexual favors. I was receiving calls and texts.
Just a second.
At all hours of the night.
Just a second. Can I see what it was that you're alleging someone posted?
Yes.
May I see it?
And you already have the page that has all the different text messages that were coming from the number. And all these numbers...
Just a second. Just a second. Oh. That text message that you're referring to came from this phone number that's on here?
Yes, ma'am. If you look at all the messages on that one page, Your Honor, they were all from the Chicago area, the same area that is her zip code for her phone.
My mom's zip code, too.
So this is not her phone number that created this text message?
That is a screenshot that someone sent me of my number being posted on social media.
I understand that.
Yes.
And you have to connect her with that.
They're all coming from the same area code as hers, Your Honor. I don't know anyone else with the area code in that location. I'm not from the Chicago area. And if you look at that one page of evidence, I received over 10, 15, 20 different contacts, all from the Chicago area, asking for sexual favors.
That's, again, probably true. Either she or someone at her behest. But you understand, there's no proof that it came from her number, that it came from Chicago, that the numbers were the same area code. The area code is in Chicago? Is that what you're telling me?
Chicago area, that is correct.
Chicago area. Well, that's a very big area, madam.
I've never received any calls or text from that area code ever before, until the incident, at all hours of the night, Your Honor. I'm not a sex worker, in all respect.
Jasmine Bradley is accusing her future stepdaughter, Nyaria Williams, of defamation and slashing her tires. Nyaria is countersuing Jasmine for her belongings and lost wages.
She's going to get caught eventually. Right now, she's been clever.
She needs to be held
But she's
accountable, Your
not
Honor.
that clever. So right now, she's going to get caught. Miss Williams?
Yes.
You submitted paperwork to the court when you came here. Is that correct?
Yes.
Do you have any proof that the plaintiff ever threatened you?
I'm sorry.
Proof?
That's right. Is not an answer.
Yeah.
No, I couldn't
Just
find
a second. So you have no proof that the plaintiff ever threatened you?
Correct.
Other than the fact that your mother told you it's time for you to go, other than that, did your mother ever threaten you that you can prove? That's either a yes or a no.
No.
I want your address now. Now.
Okay.
Where?
Jacksonville, Florida. I'm still in Florida.
We will verify that with the clerk who took her papers, and we're going to give you that address. Do you understand?
Yes, Your Honor.
Now you have her address. So if you want to file for a protective order, you know where to serve her. And
Thank you.
if she's evading service, you can get substituted service, what they call nail and mail. You mail it to her at her address, which she's given you, and you have a marshal tack it on to her front door, and then she's been served. Got it?
Yes, ma'am. Yeah. What about the tires, Your Honor?
I explained to you, you don't have sufficient proof that she slashed your tires. Probably did, but you have no proof. The fact that she threatened to do you harm, the fact that she was there within that period between 10 p.m. when you had dinner and 6 a.m. when you saw the cars is a wide window. She probably did it, but you need proof that she did it, and you don't have it. And you don't have anybody to whom she confessed. You could have brought somebody, if you say she did actually confess to a coworker, you could have brought that witness, but you didn't. You chose to bring a witness who really couldn't contribute to your case. Do you understand? I'm just telling you, with a confession, and you had the tires, and she had the opportunity, and she had the mechanism, but you need something other than that. That's
The threats weren't a confession, Your Honor?
no. Okay. Now, you're counterclaiming for illegal lockout. Forget it. Your mother told you to leave. Money owed for belongings taken without permission. What belongings?
I had 2 bags of clothes still there.
You had 2 bags of clothes?
Yes, I had 2 big bags.
Just a second. And?
2 big bags of clothes. I had my shoes there, my work shoes as well. Okay. And then I had this big mattress I left as well. It was an air mattress. Super.
And?
That's about everything.
How did the plaintiff prevent you from getting that?
Because when I contacted them about getting my clothes...
Not them. How did the plaintiff prevent you from getting that stuff?
They changed the lock.
Not they. It's not...
Jasmine and Rika changed the locks, and I could not come and get my clothes.
Not they. You have to have proof that the plaintiff, you see, it works 2 ways.
Yeah.
You have to have proof that the plaintiff did something to prevent you getting your stuff. You went there to get stuff. You went there to get stuff on the night that her tires were slashed, and you were dragging out bags of stuff.
Not bags. I only had a couple items.
You had a couple of items
Couple
that
items in my teddy
just
bear.
a second, that you came back to get at 1 o'clock in the morning? Yeah.
I need to get dressed for work.
Miss Williams, your counterclaim is dismissed. Okay, now you have her address. If you feel as if you still require a protective order, get it. If you had proof that she posted this, I'd give you a lot more than you were asking for in your complaint. But you need proof that she posted that, other than the fact that the number comes from Chicago.
I receive at least 10, 15, 20 different attempts to be reached out to me requesting sexual favors from the same area code.
I said if you can prove that she posted this, I understand the consequence.
A witness can confirm.
She also texted me that night. I have text message from her that night that she slashed the tires.
That says what? That was the night she came by at 1 o'clock in the morning?
Yeah, she lived there.
So, and if that's an acknowledgement that she slashed your tires, we're in business.
Right.
Let me see. You say to her, so you going to flatten her tire? I hope you know the cops will be called. How did you know she was going to flatten the tire?
Because she had did it. She sent me all these text messages.
No, but nothing. You don't understand, Miss Williams. Nothing in the text messages before talk about a tire.
Right.
Nothing in the text messages talk about a tire. And the last thing that it says here is 3:45 in the morning on June 29th. So you're going to flatten her tire. I hope you know the cops will come. Did she respond to that?
Right. She wouldn't respond to
She doesn't respond to it.
Right, correct.
Okay, that's all. Your counterclaim is dismissed. You have absolutely no claim against them. I've given you her address. If she continues to harass you and you want to file for a protective order and serve her, I've told you how you can do that. Do you understand?
Yes, Your
Great.
Honor.
Thank you very much. We're finished.
This court is adjourned.
We know that she carries weapons and there was damage done to the vehicle. You can pretty much put the pieces together.
She's a joke, so I figured she was gonna say that. That's what clowns do, so I'm glad she got to do a circus act.
The word on the street that she did it.
I told her girlfriend she ain't paying no bills. I told the bum to get some money, and I guess they didn't like that.
At one point, I thought that we could all be a happy family, but it's clearly not what she wants, and I do feel bad.
You ain't gonna get me to admit to that one.
You know, sometimes I wish we had even lower standards of proof than we do, because to you, to me, I'm pretty sure if we polled the audience, everybody out there would say the defendant definitely slashed those tires and probably posted the phone number of her mother's girlfriend online, insinuating that she would be open and willing to engage in sexual favors for strangers. But there is a standard of proof that they have to meet. And I was just waiting for the crumb of proof that we could hang our hat on for both issues.
Just opportunity and inclination doesn't allow a court to, in good conscience, find that she committed a crime. And both of those things would be criminal behavior.
Just with her attitude, I knew.
Her attitude.
I just, I wanted to prove and have that right little crumb to hang the hat on. But unfortunately,
eventually, people with that kind of attitude
always get caught.
Always either get caught or get comeuppance.
Oh, yeah.
Case number 2029, McCray versus Onwaka. All parties, please step forward.
Brittany McCray is suing her former roommate, Lulu Onawaka, for a rental deposit, moving costs, and lost wages.
Miss McCray, you were looking for a room, and you rented a room in defendant's apartment. It didn't work out. You were unhappy. She was unhappy. You moved out. And now you want return of rent, deposit, moving costs, lost wages, and emotional distress. She also said, didn't work out. We didn't like each other. It just wasn't a good fit. So you were happy she left. That's either a yes or a no. You were happy she left.
No, ma'am.
You weren't happy you wanted her to stay.
No, ma'am.
Then you were happy she left.
No, ma'am, I wasn't happy she left.
Oh, let me see. Let's see. Okay, this is what you say. Brittany, that would be you.
Yes.
This is your answer. Was messy played loud music, brought friends in unannounced, damaged the washing machine which flooded our apartment, and without consent offered to adopt someone's dog. After that, I let her know we weren't a good fit and would not be renewing her lease.
No.
Now, that's what you said.
We'll not be renewing the lease for the
No,
apartment.
no. Doesn't matter. I just read you something. I read you your answer. Now, does that sound somebody that was happy with their roommate?
I define happiness for myself. I've lived in co-living where I've had to live with people I do not like.
What?
And make it work is what I'm trying to say. So
No.
that wasn't the issue.
Brittany McCrae claims her former roommate, Lulu Onawaka, owes for a rental deposit, moving costs, and lost wages. Lulu is countersuing for property damage and storage fees.
Brittany was messy, played loud music, brought friends in unannounced. She damaged the washing machine, flooded the apartment, and without my consent offered to adopt someone's dog. After that, I let her know we weren't a good fit and wouldn't be renewing the lease. That's what you wrote. Do you want me to show that to you?
No, you're right, and that is what I wrote.
Absolutely. Well, then I don't know why you have a passive-aggressive attitude, because I'm the only one who's passive-aggressive. Then you were happy she left.
No.
Okay, well, you're ridiculous. Then you're a masochist. Somehow you want to live with
Probably
somebody.
I am.
You want to live with somebody who's messy, loud, floods your apartment, weren't a good fit, and yet you were happy with that. And I don't have to define happiness.
Yes.
I know that if I lived with somebody who was messy, sometimes loud,
Okay. So each is
he broke the dishwasher and flooded the apartment because they put regular soap instead of dishwashing soap into the apartment, then it sort of bubbles all over. Now, unless I was either married to that person or they were one of my family, I wouldn't be happy with them. If I had a tenant like that, I would say, oh my God, what did I get myself into? I want out of this.
Okay.
But you were happy.
No, I wasn't. I stand on that.
Okay, then you weren't happy.
Yeah.
Perfect. That's what I asked you. You could have saved me all this dramatics. All right, so there we go. You were living in a room.
Yes.
You paid a month's rent.
I did.
Okay, how much rent did you pay?
I paid $1,300 and a $300 deposit.
And you lived there for about a month.
I lived there for 26 days.
And things didn't work out. You had a big argument with her back and forth. And as a matter of fact, according to you, you left for a couple of days.
I did.
Yes, because you were unhappy there and felt threatened, felt uncomfortable, whatever
Very
it
much
was.
so.
So you left for a couple of days. And when you came back, what was your intention when you came back?
So,
No, look, not so. Look at me. You left because you were unhappy. You came back. What was your intention when you came back?
I never left because I was unhappy. I left because I was evicted from the property by the defendant.
Just a second. So you didn't leave the apartment after this disagreement?
Yes,
You did?
I did.
Okay. Where did you go?
I actually stayed with my friend.
So you left?
Yes.
On what date?
I left on June 1st.
You left the residence and stayed with your friend?
Yes.
And you stayed with your friend after the argument?
Yes.
Why?
I'm able to provide some backstory on
I don't need any backstories. I'm just trying to get to a mindset of why the two of you think that you have a lawsuit against each other. Why do you bother wasting your own time, wasting precious court time when you weren't happy in the apartment, you paid for a month's rent. Certainly, you're entitled to your security back if you cause no damage to the apartment. You lived there practically a month, and you're not entitled to any more money because she didn't give you 30 days' notice because you were just as happy that
She had abandoned properties.
What?
She had abandoned properties.
Okay.
She damaged the door, and I lost my deposit as well because of that.
Just a second. Damaged what door?
So,
No, just not so. Damaged what door? That's a door. An outer door, a door to her room?
Yes.
The door to her room?
Yes, she did that.
You have a photograph of the damage.
Yes,
I'd
I
like
do.
to see it.
Please bear with me. I'm going to find it quickly.
The damage she's referring to was actually me attempting to change the locks on the door. I left after I had been informed by the
Just a
defendant.
second. So you acknowledged the door was damaged while you were trying to change the lock
I
on
was
the
trying
door?
to change the lock because during my time away, all of my belongings were still in the property. Correct.
Listen to me. Did you damage the door?
No. The doorknob was removed, but the door is not damaged.
The lock was removed.
The lock was removed.
All right, I'd
so
like
that
to see.
The defendant would no longer have access to my room, to which she actually did enter my room while I was away.
Okay.
I left because the defendant actually informed me that I would need to get out by that date. after requesting a full month of rent, despite me not having even lived in the property for the original month of rent that I had paid for.
I don't care. Unless she can show me the damaged door and how much it was to repair it, and I want to see how much it was to repair it.
I don't have how much it was, but here is the lease agreement, and we paid $2,900 to be here for the security deposit.
Oh, she just took this out. That's nonsense. That's
Ma'am,
nothing.
I wasn't still able to get my deposit
Nothing.
back.
The agreement
I got
that I...
$1,700 back.
Understand this.
Okay.
This is not damage to the door. She took out a cylinder. All you have to do is put it back. Unless you have a receipt for somebody putting it back, you get
No, but
nothing.
that's what I'm saying. We didn't put
you
it
get
back.
nothing.
We
You
didn't
get
put it back.
nothing.
It's a maintenance request at the property.
I didn't ask you a question. You're entitled to your $300 security back.
That wasn't the security. That was for key and cleaning, and she was aware of it.
$300 security deposit. By the way, are you allowed to sublet rooms in your apartment? That's a yes or a no?
No.
Just a, hey.
No,
hey,
no,
don't
I
look down.
wasn't. No, I
don't look
wasn't,
down.
ma'am.
So the answer is you are not allowed to sublet rooms in your apartment.
Yes.
Okay. Yes, you are not allowed to sublet rooms in your apartment. She gets a deposit back. We're done. Thank you very much.
Court is adjourned.
I didn't concede to her requesting me to clean out a garbage at the apartment, and at that point, she lost her entire senses and asked me to move out of the apartment. Always pick your roommates more carefully.
Okay, so I don't have anywhere to go really on this case except to suggest that people who feel good, look like they have a job, look as if life is otherwise okay for them, and they move into this rental situation, which is very difficult. I never could understand it, to move in with a stranger in an apartment and just rent a room when you don't even know whether you're compatible, whether you have similar interests, similar time schedules. I always thought that that was fraught with danger, and it keeps me in business here. But here you have two women that were both unhappy. You had an unhappy tenant, an unhappy landlord. You had a lease, but both of them were unhappy. It really didn't cost either of them anything. Plaintiff says she didn't get 30 days notice, so she should be compensated for $5,000 and her moving costs and storage
fees, some other things. It seemed like a wash to me when I read the papers. And to have your happiness after the end of constant struggle or battle with each other seemed like a win to me, but apparently it wasn't enough for them.
Apparently not. Well, unfortunate. But she's entitled to a security deposit back. She lived there for almost a month. She paid
Her sister, Brandy Maida, for property damage, harassment, and lost work.
Court come to order. All rise.
Have a seat, everyone, please. Hello, Ken.
Case number 2006, Nelson versus Mata.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Miss Nelson, this is your sister.
Yes.
How old are you?
I am 42, 43, almost 44.
Oh, so are you the only two sisters?
We have some half-sisters, but yes.
But you're the only two full biological sisters. Now, there came a time, Miss Maida, that you moved into your sister's home.
Yes.
Is this a home that you own?
Yes, we built it.
In what year did you move into her home?
That would have been 2018.
Who else lives in the house from your family?
My disabled mother, my husband, and my child.
So your mother lives there?
Yes, I take care of my mom.
Tell me why you moved into your sister's basement, Miss Maida.
In 2015, my oldest son was in a tornado and suffered a severe brain injury. So when my sister Tiffany and her husband were looking for new houses, they offered to build an apartment in their basement so that we could live with them and get out of our mobile home. So when they built this house, it was built with the intention of us living in the basement.
Is that correct?
Yes, but for a year, because I do take care of my disabled mother, and the intention was for her to be in the basement eventually so that she doesn't have to use stairs.
Was the original agreement with your sister that it would not be a permanent move, but one that would last for about a year?
It was agreed that it was not a permanent. There was not a date set, though.
Okay, but it was agreed it was not a permanent, and you did not have a written lease?
Yes, we did. We do have a lease.
You did? I'd like to see it.
We had a month-to-month lease that I have as well. This is the current lease that subsides the other lease.
Okay, initially a month-to-month lease, and what month and year did you have her sign?
I have it right here. It's dated July 14th, 2018.
So this is a 6-month lease that ended January 31st?
Correct.
The rent was $800 a month?
Yes.
So this last lease was for your sister, her husband, and 2 children?
Correct.
I only ask that question because if my reading of your complaint was correct, You say that she moved her husband in without your consent.
So when we first agreed to let her move in 2018, she was divorcing, and the agreement was that her and her 2 sons could move into the home. He had nowhere to go, and she wanted him to move in. So because
In what year was that?
That was still 2018.
So that was still 2018?
Yeah, so we let,
All right, so
we
you,
let him live there.
And since then, you'd signed different leases with her, with him on the property?
Correct.
Okay, so then you acquiesced to it. When you were in the apartment, did you have pets?
I did,
How many pets did you have?
4 dogs. But then subsequently, some had passed away, so at the end, we only had 2 dogs.
Okay, well, at the signing of this lease, you had 6 pets, consisting of cats, dogs, and no other pets being allowed.
Correct.
And you agreed, regardless of ownership of the pets, agreed to restore the property to its original condition at your expense when you leave. Okay, good, because that's also part of what this is about, actually, most of what this is about.
Your Honor, they had 3 pets upon move out. They had just gotten a puppy, so they did have 3 pets and 2 cats upon move out.
Doesn't matter. Anybody who has 6 pets, after 3 years, the carpet needs to be replaced.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. Now, your sister began to move out when, in what month?
She moved out on the 1st of February, 2022.
Pursuant to your agreement?
Correct.
And it is your claim that she left the premises in condition that required you to spend close to $10,000 to put it back into shape?
$6,500.
Okay.
For the basement damages.
I'd like to see photographs of what it looked like, because we know it was brand new when you moved in, because the house was just
Those
built.
are all...
So we know that it's new.
I also have photographs that I took the day we moved out.
Okay. I'm going to give you these, and then I'm going to look at yours.
Okay.
Okay, so there's no question you have to replace the carpeting.
Right.
You understand that. Did
Yes.
you replace the carpeting?
No, I had not had any contact from her.
Do you have the bill for the carpeting?
I replaced 1 room already, and I have that, and then I have the estimate to replace the other carpet.
Okay, I'll take a look at that. And that's the main thing that I see in the apartment that has to be done from these photographs. Okay, did you leave a lot of food in the refrigerator and all kinds of stuff in the refrigerator?
No, so what happened was the refrigerator...
Just the answer is either yes or no. Did you leave a whole lot of stuff in the refrigerator?
No.
Anything in the freezer?
No, there was no fridge or freezer.
And cabinets, did you leave anything in the I'm just looking because there's a picture here of a whole bunch of food.
Right. I hadn't finished moving out.
My question,
But yes, there was
my
stuff there.
question is, you were supposed to be out by February 1st. On February 1st, was there food in the house?
Yes.
Okay, and it should have been moved, whether you moved out yet or not. You were supposed to be out by February 1st. Okay, I'd like to see those. So you replaced the carpet in what room?
One of the bedrooms, so my mom could move down there so she could not use stairs.
Okay. Sarah, add these 2 figures and have them for me, please. And I don't know what this is a photograph of.
So the bags that were left in the home, there was ice cream that was left in those bags, and it had leaked on my flooring, and we moved it outside, and that is the rotted food from the bags.
Okay, do you know how that happened?
I don't. I haven't seen that.
Okay. May I see photographs, please, that you took on the day you moved out?
Yes.
I have that total, Judge. $4,129.
$4,121?
29
$29.
and 21 cents.
Thank you. Is this after the carpet was taken out?
Yes.
Kevin, can I please see the photographs that you took? Actually, they're pretty much the same. Not terrible. A lot of it is ordinary wear and tear, except for the carpet. So that's $4,129. The only other thing that I'm questioning is that I saw these rocks, and I want somebody to explain these rocks to me.
So because of the water level, if you go out the downstairs patio, there's rocks there to prevent the yard from sliding.
Getting wet.
So some of the rocks were moved. They're supposed to all go in a line, and they go down and over. So we have to pay a landscaper to come out and basically redo that.
Well, how did that happen? Do you know?
They're pretty heavy rocks, so.
I don't know. Do you know?
don't know.
Did you move the rocks?
No, you would need like skid loader to move those rocks. There's no physical way to move those.
Where do you live?
With one person.
I live in far west Utah, farm country.
Looks like there's water comes down through here.
Yes, we live across the street from a pond as well.
You don't know how that happens. Now, you have, in addition to your claim, which is for damage, you feel it's necessary to go into these allegations of harassment by your sister?
I honestly just want to be done with her and not get threatening text messages and stuff on social media.
No chance of a reconciliation. You
Not
lived
on my
together
end.
for a while.
I've blocked her from
For a long time.
Yeah.
Miss Mehta, your sister was there at a time when you needed her.
Yes.
You think that there's any potential for the two of you to sort of restore some kind of working relationship? Are you the only two?
No. This
No.
is the funeral of our relationship.
All right, not my job. That's a job for another professional. Okay, you have a counterclaim.
Yes.
And your counterclaim, just as she's not going into harassment, I'm not going into anything that involves the harassment. It is your claim that you left certain furniture behind. Well, why wasn't your furniture out on the 1st? Your lease expired at the end of the month in January.
It did. And I did let them know that I was not done.
Well, that's not a reason. That's not a reason to break your contract. Only 2 people can break a contract, Ms. Mehta. The 2 people are the same 2 people that signed it. You signed a contract that said you would be out on a certain date. You weren't out on a certain date. The fact that you notified her that you're changing the terms of the contract unless she agreed to it, then you should have had your stuff out by the 31st. Why didn't you?
Because she had made it very difficult during my moving process. There was a lot of, like I said, harassment and stuff that happened during that moving process. She called the police on the people that were helping me. She made it very difficult to get it done. There was no way that I could get it done on
Let's
that
get
day.
back to call the police.
And later today, Tiffany Nelson claims her sister, Brandy Mehta, owes for property damage after living in her basement. Brandy is countersuing for the return of her belongings.
Who did you have moving you?
I had my best friend, Brittany, was helping me.
Does Brittany and your sister have any negative history?
They do.
Okay. Well, if they have any negative history, why would you have her come into the house?
Because she doesn't have any access to Tiffany at that point. There was no reason for them to talk. They wouldn't be even associating.
You know, if I knew that there were issues between my landlord and a particular person, especially if my landlord was my sister who let me move into her house, just from a question of using my brain, I wouldn't bring somebody that had been on the outs with them. If they didn't like them, that's one thing. You know, I'm really not crazy about your friend Brittany. That's one thing. But if you knew that there was an active, aggressive feeling against one or the other, should have had somebody else move. So why didn't you get your stuff out?
Well, so I didn't think that it was as serious as that. They are related.
If they're related and don't like each other, or the plaintiff doesn't like her, then that's even worse. Go ahead.
Yeah, so she was my only help. I didn't have anybody to help me at that time. So.
Then start doing it sooner. Go ahead.
Yeah, that was the
Miss
only
Mehta,
reason.
Miss Mehta, where was your husband?
He was working. We were working during this whole time.
Well, that's okay. I've moved and worked. I used to move every time I needed a paint job. I would pack up and move, and I constantly worked. I've worked for 58 years. So that's not a reason. You pack in the evening. You go down after work, you get newspaper from the grocery store, and you get old cartons, and you wrap up the dishes and the cartons, and you manage to get out when you're supposed to get out. And she's not the only one who can help you. Maybe your husband has friends. If he doesn't have friends, I don't know why not. In any event, that was not a smart thing for you to bring your witness. Furniture. What furniture did you leave?
I left patio set on the patio. It was all outside furniture.
Patio set.
You're on
just a second.
A lawnmower.
Okay.
Outside bench that had storage and stuff.
Yeah.
Fire pit and lawn chairs.
Okay. And when did you buy the lawn chairs?
It would have been 2018.
Okay. And how much did you pay for each one?
They were $245 for the chaise lounges and $159 for the pool dining chairs.
Okay. Are those chairs at your home?
Yes.
May I see them?
Yes. There's 4 lawn chairs. There was never the long chair.
Let me see what's in the home.
I also had a cooler.
Just a second. Don't bother me about a cooler. Are the lawn chairs still there?
Yes.
Great. You can go get them.
Okay.
With a marshal, not with her. What about the fire pit?
Still there.
You can pick up the fire pit. What about the lawnmower?
Still there.
Patio set?
Still there.
They have painted that purple.
Painted back. Where are you living now?
I have a house.
Who are you living there with?
With my husband and my sister-in-law.
She's living with you? Mm-hmm. She's paying, it's not an answer, yes.
Yes.
She's paying you rent?
No.
Why not?
My husband's mother, their mother passed away, and she needed to be closer to family, so she's just living with us as family.
Okay, you're going to get all the property back that you say you left there. And you can do that within 5 days on notice to the plaintiff with a marshal. Just give him a copy of the order that will give you inside.
Okay.
With regard to the renovation of the house, she has to put the house in reasonable condition. Most of these other pictures demonstrate some wear and tear that you would have to do. Painting and plastering after 3.5 years, but the carpeting had to be replaced, $4,129. Judgment for the plaintiff. Thank you very much. We're finished.
This court is adjourned.
I'm happy with her decision. I just wanted to fix my basement and move on with my life.
I mean, it is what it is. There's nothing to do. You know, I think we were both at fault.
Go back home, fix my house, and honestly have nothing to do with her again.
If she had come and talked to me like a normal person, we could have figured this out without this.
No, I'm completely done.
I would like to not be inappropriate, but she's just not a...
I think that the two sisters had the best of intentions. Didn't you get that feeling?
I did. From moving in and knowing you have a designated place at a time of need, that she was going to design the basement for you to live in, although not permanently, I thought it was going to go in a good direction.
And I'm sure that the plaintiff's mother, who lives with her, is sad that she doesn't get to see her other daughter probably as frequently as she would like, because they lived together in the same home, evidently, for a very long time.
Yeah.
Very bad. There's always collateral damage when people don't get along.
True.
Diana and Donald back for an illegal eviction, security deposits, and an assault.
Court come to order. All rise.
Have a seat, please.
Hello, Judge. Case 2085, Schumann versus Back.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Mr. Schumann,
Yes, Your Honor.
I assume this is your wife?
My girlfriend.
Girlfriend.
And my son, Blake.
And your girlfriend is here just for moral support? She wasn't living with you in the house?
She wasn't living with me, no, but she was...
Sit down.
I was a witness.
Sit.
A part of it.
Sit down.
Big part of it.
She was not living at the house?
No.
Good. Just you and your son?
Yes.
And you were tenants of Mr. and Mrs. Back for how long?
I think it was 6 years.
Starting when?
When did I sign the lease?
August 2016.
Don't help him.
Okay.
Yeah. Yeah, 8/1/16.
And which unit do you rent? Because they also live in the house.
Yeah, it's 3 floors. I have the middle, and the top is just a little loft. Comes with a little loft.
And did you move in there with your son?
No, in the beginning, no. He wasn't with me.
Was it just you?
It was just me.
And when did he move in?
Probably 2 years later.
2018?
Yeah.
How old is he?
He's 15.
Now, in 2016, everything going well with your landlord?
Yeah.
Same landlord?
Yes.
What about 2017?
Everything's good.
Everything's going fine. 18? Must have been going fine because you brought your son in to live with you.
We did have a few incidences that I had to call the police then.
Okay, so in 2018, you had to call the police.
Yes.
When in 2018?
First time Mrs. Back came, and she had a problem with Blake. She said he walked too hard upstairs.
Okay. Now, before Blake came with you, with whom was he living?
With his mother.
How long was he living with his mother?
Since he,
Since he was born?
Yeah, since birth.
And did you visit with him before he came to live with you?
Yeah, I had him every other weekend and Tuesdays and Thursdays.
So something must have happened in 2018 because he's 15 years old, he's in high school. You want to tell me the reason? Angela, I want you to bear in mind, this is my business.
Yeah.
You want to tell me why your son came to live with you? And if you just want to say to me he and his mother weren't getting along, I will accept that.
No, that's not why. She wanted to move to Florida, and she said I could have Blake.
Interesting. Okay, so the first time you started to have trouble was when your son came and Mrs. Back said that he was walking too loud, making too much noise upstairs.
Yeah.
And how did she communicate that with you?
Well, Mr. Back was really the one who had the problem. At night, because Blake would go from his bedroom to the bathroom, and he walked too loud. That was it.
So what did you do?
Well, that was that.
I want to know why you called the police.
Well, why you called the police was because finally, this was the following year when she...
Just a second. So that was it. In 2018, they told you that your son was walking too heavy.
Yeah.
In the middle of the night, going from his room to the bathroom.
Yeah.
Okay, but that didn't require a call to the police. So I'm waiting.
Well,
This is not a well. You call the police.
confront
I want to
me.
tell you something. I've been a tenant for most of my life. I've never called the police on the landlord. So this is not an answer that starts with well. When was the first time you called the police regarding Mr. and Mrs. Back, and for what reason?
She illegally entered my apartment. She used her key to come into my house.
Okay, don't speak. I told you not to speak.
Okay, I'm sorry.
When did she use a key to come into your apartment?
What time of the day?
No,
It was
month?
The day and,
Month?
I don't remember. I mean, I have the police report.
Oh, I'd like to see it. Well, that will tell me.
The door was open, Your Honor. Sorry.
What part don't you understand? You want me to just grant his application and say goodbye to you?
I'm sorry. Sorry.
I know I had it. No, I have it, but
You have it, but you don't have it.
well,
Okay, so that was sometime, according to you, in 2018/19, she entered your apartment without your permission using a key.
yes.
And as a result of that, what happened?
Well, the officer
It's
came.
not a well.
Yep, the officer
So
came.
she came in and you found out that she had been in your apartment. How did you?
Yeah, I was
how
upstairs. I was in the apartment and she came in.
Oh, she used her key
Yeah,
and came in and you were there.
yes.
Tell me about that incident. So she came in.
She confronted Blake, then I went upstairs.
Just a second. She confronted Blake and you went upstairs. Upstairs from where?
From downstairs. We were coming home. She came running down the block, saw that we were home, and started telling Blake that he walks too loud. You're walking too loud. You're walking too loud.
Just a second. She's in the street.
She was coming. She saw us and she's coming
You
back.
said you were outside. You were outside. First you tell me, if I'm not mistaken, Whitney, he said he was in the apartment when she came in. Yes. Is that correct?
Yes.
Okay. First you told me you were in the apartment. That's not accurate. This happened outside.
Yeah.
Yeah. So it happened outside and she was yelling at your son that he was walking too loud.
Yeah.
Yeah, not yeah, yes.
Yes.
Okay. And now she's outside coming from the beach. She's telling him, you're coming inside, keep going.
Then we went inside. I said, okay.
Just a
then.
second.
I said, okay, I'll tell him to walk a little softer, levitate a little bit. And we went inside and I got onto the phone talking to somebody. I guess she heard me talking and she opened her key and came up the stairs and started yelling. I wasn't yelling at Blake. I wasn't doing this to Blake. I wasn't doing that to Blake.
All right, next. 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 I'll tell you what this case is about so that everybody understands what this case is about. You're claiming that they illegally evicted you. That's one thing. You claim that they have your security deposit. And what else do you want? You say that there was a simple assault because when yelling at you, one of them spit on you.
It was a lot more than yelling.
I don't care what's yelling. Nobody hit you. That's either a yes or a no.
No.
Claims his former landlords, Diana and Donald Back, owe for an illegal eviction, security deposit, and an assault. Diana and Donald are countersuing for apartment damage.
Now, illegal eviction, return of security deposit. And you lived there until when?
Until June of this year.
Now, in June, something happened, and that's where your girlfriend has some information because it was June
3rd.
You are Gina.
Yes.
Perfect. You and Gina were in bed asleep. Does Gina have her own car?
Yes.
Do you have a car?
Yes.
So that's two cars.
Yes.
Where are you supposed to park?
Well, we don't have a driveway, so you can park on the street if you want.
Okay, so you weren't parked anywhere near the house?
No, across the street.
Correct?
Yes.
So his cars weren't blocking yours?
Yes, they were.
Where was your car parked?
My car was parked out front behind his disabled spot that he has for himself and only him.
Just a second.
Behind.
There's a disabled parking spot on a public street?
Yes, but it's only his, for his number only. So no one else could park there or they get ticketed and towed.
Even if you're disabled.
Shh.
Yeah, even if you're disabled, you're not allowed.
Did you get a spot assigned to you, sir, assigned to your car because of a disability?
Yes.
What's the nature of the disability?
I had 2 cracked vertebrae in my neck. I dislocated my left shoulder. I have herniated and ruptured discs in my lower back and nerve damage down my left leg.
So you have a place to park?
Yes.
Were you or your girlfriend Gina in any way blocking Mr. and Mrs. Back's car?
No.
Okay. Did you see where they were parked?
Yeah, she was parked on the street in front of the house.
Their car was parked in the street in front of the house?
Yes.
Okay. Go. June 3rd, where was your car?
So my car was parked behind his disabled spot, My husband came in and showed me a ticket that was on my car, and I couldn't understand it because there's no meters or anything. And when I went to look at the ticket, it took me a little time. I checked it. It was for unregistered vehicle. First time in my life I've ever done something like that. I went online right away because I said, I know I did this in April in my mind because I do everything online. Obviously, I never sent it through, and I didn't realize it. Cops in the town have a scanner. They scanned my card. They gave me a ticket. I'm responsible for that. I understand that. But when I spoke to the cop, he said...
No, don't tell me what the cop said.
Well, I can get a ticket every 12 hours. So I panicked. I said, okay, I'm going to try.
Now I understand what's happened.
But I needed to get my car
Just a
off the
second.
road.
So now I understand what happened. She got a ticket parking on the street. And the ticket for parking on the street was for having an unregistered vehicle.
Yes.
Your car was not parked in your designated handicapped spot. Instead, you and Gina were parked in the street.
Yes.
So she came to you to ask you to take your car and put it in your handicapped spot so that she could park in the driveway.
No.
Well,
we just asked for, just needed one of them. Can you see,
Just a
look
second.
at this picture?
Just a second.
And then you'll understand what I mean.
You asked one of them to move their car?
I tried to just get in touch with both of them at this, just get their attention.
You said, Miss Back, no to me very fast. I want you to listen to what I said.
To go in. There's six parking spots on this lot. So I didn't need him to go in his spot, is what I'm trying to say.
It doesn't matter.
I just needed him
You need to move?
get through. He could have stayed there the whole night if he wanted to.
Okay. And what time was this?
My husband walked in about 20 to 9. I started to look it up, thinking that something was wrong. By the time I figured that out, then I knocked on the door.
Just a second.
No
Give me a
answer.
time that you went to his door to knock at the door.
I started knocking on the door about 9 o'clock, a little bit after, maybe 9 o'clock. And then I proceeded to text, and I proceeded to call.
Okay. Now, prior to that, Mr. Schumann, prior to that date, at about 9 o'clock, when was the time immediately prior that you called the police about the behavior or a complaint about Mr. and Mrs. Back?
After. Okay.
What don't you understand?
When I called the police, it was probably about 9:45.
No, prior to that night, when she wanted you to move your car. When was the time immediately preceding that you called the police about any conduct of Mr. and Mrs. Back?
Yeah, I don't remember the date.
Give me the month and year.
Oh, wow. It was...
So far, we have
maybe
2018.
Maybe 2020.
So that was the second time that you've called the police?
Yeah.
I'm sorry.
You keep saying that. Okay. 2020. What was that about?
What that was about was she was downstairs with her friends. They were smoking so much marijuana that we couldn't breathe on the second and third floor. And Mrs. Zanino called her and said, you guys got to knock it off. You got to stop. We can't breathe up here. Had to open the windows, had to turn on fans, and I had Blake there.
May I see the police report?
That one I don't have. They wouldn't give it to me. They said...
Just a second. That they said you don't have that police report, but that you called because of smoking marijuana.
Yes.
Okay. And that was the time immediately preceding the call at 9:45 in June of 2022.
Yes.
There were no calls in between.
No.
Is that correct?
One after, but not before.
One after?
2 days later.
2 days after the
altercation. Yeah.
After the altercation. Okay. So now, according to you, you and Gina are in bed, sound asleep at 9 o'clock. Yeah. Where is your son?
He's downstairs on the second floor. That's where his bedroom is.
Okay. But downstairs, when you want to get in, do you get in from the second floor or the third?
Come in the house, you got to come in from the first floor. And then...
Walk up a flight of stairs.
Yeah.
So you have to pass where your son is. Your son is on the second floor.
Oh, yeah. If I'm going up to the loft, the bedroom door is right there. Yeah.
Okay. What's your son's first name?
Blake.
Blake, stand up. Move over next to your father. You're 15 years old?
Yes.
15-year-olds don't go to sleep at 9 o'clock at night. June 3rd, 2022. Where were you?
I was in the bathroom.
You were in the bathroom?
Yes.
All night?
No, not all night.
Well, when were you in the bathroom?
Around 9:30.
When did you hear banging on the door?
It was around that time.
It was around 9:30?
Yes.
What did you do?
Well, I didn't know what was going on.
No, you heard banging at the door?
Yes.
Did somebody say something?
Not
well. Look at me. All you have to do is remember this. Don't speak, Mr. Schumann. Don't speak to him.
No, he's nervous.
Don't speak to him. He won't have to be nervous if he tells the truth. So you see, you just have to cool it. Do you understand?
Yes, Your Honor.
Perfect.
His former landlords, Diana and Donald Back, of wrongfully evicting him and keeping his security deposit.
You came here. You brought him. Just remember that. You came.
I know.
You brought him. What did you hear when you heard banging at the door?
I heard Don scream, Dan.
You heard Mr. Back?
Yes. Mr.
Scream
Back.
what?
Dan and...
Dan?
Yes.
And that's your father?
Yes.
How many times did you hear him scream Dan?
Only once.
Once. And are you out of the bathroom?
Well, I did.
Oh, that's not an well.
Sorry.
Are you out of the bathroom or still in the bathroom?
I'm still in the bathroom.
Okay, so you're still in the bathroom.
Yes.
Was the door open or closed?
Closed.
Closed. So behind a closed door in the bathroom, you heard Dan from the floor below.
Yes.
Dan. Now, what did you hear after that? Is not an answer. What did you hear after that? Dan. Now, you knew somebody was looking for your father.
Oh, well, I panicked, sort of.
You panicked?
Yes.
Because somebody was looking for your father and you knew it was the landlord?
Yeah.
You knew it was the landlord?
No, I didn't.
You just told me that...
I thought someone was trying to break in.
You mean, just a second. Blake, let's get real, okay? Let's stop with the scripted scenario that your father is giving you. Because don't speak. Because at 9 o'clock at night, if somebody is banging at the door and calling your father's name, then it doesn't sound like a break-in to me. If somebody's banging at my door and somebody is yelling out, Nana, Nana, I know they're not trying to break into my house.
It wasn't.
Do you understand? Do you understand?
It was the whole house was shaking.
Okay.
The entire house.
Mr. Schuman, I'm not speaking to you. Do you understand? You brought this ridiculous lawsuit. You brought this ridiculous lawsuit.
The truth has to be told. I can't tell.
Just a second.
Because you're lying.
Mr. Schuman,
no, you're lying.
Mr. Schuman, you brought this ridiculous lawsuit, except for one thing. I'm finished with you. Sit down.
Your Honor, I wasn't even the one who called the cops at first.
Just a second.
The neighbor across the street called first because...
Mr. Schuman, you have a police report?
Yeah.
Then I'd like to see where the neighbor across the street called the police.
Yeah, that says it in
Just a second. I'd like to see it.
He also called.
Shh.
Okay.
Yeah, when I called, they said someone else has already called.
Give this back. Give this back. They don't understand not to talk. All right. I'm about finished with you. You moved out?
Yes, I was illegally evicted.
Great. It's a great thing that you moved out. It's a great thing that you moved out because you don't want to be with such bad landlords who yell and scream in the middle of the night, who smoke marijuana around your 15-year-old son who would never think of doing that, right? Right?
Yes.
Yes, of course. And so it's a good thing that you found someplace else to go.
Well, it is a good thing.
It's a very, very good thing.
The stress that's off me now.
Perfect. Then it's what we call a mitzvah that you moved out. Okay? The only thing that I'm entertaining on either side is, on your side, the return of your security deposit. Do you understand?
Yes.
How much was your security deposit?
$1,750.
When you left, did you get any of your security deposit back?
No.
What date did you leave?
It was the last day of June.
So it was June 30th. And you paid June's rent?
Yes.
So now you're going to have to explain to me, Mr. and Mrs. Back, and I think I'm going to go to Mrs. Back, why you kept their security deposit.
Well, Your Honor, he signed a lease when he first moved in.
Just tell me why you kept their security
because
deposit.
He was asked to give me 60 days notice, written 60 days notice.
Forget it. There are people who call the police on you all the time. You're going to get down on the ground, kiss the ground, and say, thank God for they're not in my house anymore. Do you understand? Do you understand?
Kind of.
He's happy. What do you mean, kind of?
Well,
what do you
I wasn't
mean,
ready for the change at the time. That's why I always ask for 60 days notice.
Oh, you sound ridiculous.
I'm sorry.
You sound ridiculous. Do you understand why she sounds ridiculous? You had very, very bad experience with your tenants. Police were called. I don't know. I've lived in places all my life. Police were never called on me as a tenant. I never called police on a landlord. Out there in the near audience, I want to know how many of you ever called the police about your landlord. Raise your hand. I just want some idea. Raise your hand. Don't tell me the truth. Okay, good. Now, how many ever called the police on a tenant? Look at all this. How many times?
Twice.
Great. Landlord or tenant?
On a tenant.
You called about a tenant?
Yes.
About a disruptive tenant?
Yes.
So, with the exception of Kevin, who is a businessman, entrepreneur when he's not here, taking care of my business here, and he called the police twice because of a tenant. Nobody else has ever called the police, so you should say, thank you, Lord, for getting rid of these tenants who called the police and not give me baloney about a 60-day notice. Now, if that's why you kept their security deposit, which is what you said to me, then he gets a security deposit back, $1,750. And that's the only reason you gave me.
It's $1,725, but
Just a
I
second.
didn't finish.
$1,725. You did finish. I said, what was the reason? I asked you twice.
Well,
what was the reason? And what was the reason?
I was letting him go from the 17th when he texted my husband to the 17th. The only thing I wanted in return is access. He said, no, see you in court. So I turned around and held him to his lease.
Very good. Not here. Not here. Okay. $1,750. He gets a security deposit back. $1,750 or $1,725?
It's $1,750.
Take a look. Let's get the number right.
The lease.
This is fascinating.
He signed his lease that says $1,725.
Okay. You have information to the contrary, Mr. Schuman.
No, she's right. $1,725.
$1,725. Judgment for the plaintiff. We're done. Counterclaim is dismissed. We're finished. That's it.
Court is adjourned.
Judge Judy was right about I should be counting my blessings that they're gone.
It was over a silly parking spot.
I'm glad he's out, but I don't think he deserves his security.
I mean, I couldn't teach him how to levitate. I tried, as much as I tried, we couldn't get it.
I'll never understand why acrimonious relationships between landlords and tenants would wish to continue on for another 30 days, another 60 days, cut your losses and get out of there. And that's what happened. And the defendant's answer that, well, he was supposed to give me 60 days notice. Why would you want him there for another 60 days?
It's called the police on you, as far as we know, at least 3 times.
Yes.
Whatever. It was just a bad scene. And for some reason, he didn't park at his assigned spot because of his handicap. He parked, whatever.
I think everyone should just cut.
Albert Lee is suing pilot instructor Ed Meyer for damage resulting from Ed moving his plane.
Court come to order. All rise.
Have a seat, please.
Case 2145, Lee versus Meyer.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Mr. Lee, you are an amateur pilot?
Yes, I was yes.
And you owned your own plane?
I bought it to train in, yes.
When did you purchase the plane?
In, I believe, April of 2021.
Did you buy it new or used?
I bought it used.
What kind of plane is it?
It's a Cirrus SR-22, 2010 type Golf.
What did you pay for it?
I paid $420,000 for it, I believe.
Is there a mortgage on the?
Yes, there is.
How much?
It's $2,204 per month.
You paid $425,000 for the plane.
Yeah, I put a down payment on it. The outstanding balance is $347,000. The payment per month is $2,000.
Okay. I don't need the payment per month. I just wanted to know what you paid for it and how much you put into the plane.
Yes.
The defendant is a pilot, licensed pilot, and he was giving you some training on the plane.
Certified flight instructor, yes.
It is your claim that at some point, you'll tell me when, that the defendant was operating the plane by himself. You weren't there, and he was moving it from one part of the FBO to another part, and he hit a cone and caused substantial damage to the propeller and the engine. And while you had your insurance did cover some of it, according to you, it did not cover all of the expenses, and you want Mr. Meyer to be responsible for that. So it's a simple question. Mr. Meyer, do you remember the date that you were operating the plane when Mr. Lee was not there?
Yes.
What date?
It was in April sometime.
April of 2022?
Correct.
Do you remember the date, Mr. Lee?
Yes.
What date?
It's April 22nd.
Would that sound right?
Yes.
Okay. And from what I read in the papers, Mr. Meyer had in fact taken you out, but then the weather got bad. You decided that you would make your way home and that he would get the plane home when the weather was better.
Correct.
And that was on or about April 22nd.
I flew home on a commercial flight the day before on April 21st.
And you stayed with the plane?
Yes.
Now, would you agree, Mr. Meyer, that if in fact you hit an object with the plane, it would be your responsibility?
Yes.
Because it would mean that there was some sort of negligence involved.
Right.
And then that would be the issue of damages. Mr. Lee, you were not present when this incident happened?
I was
Not present.
I was not present. I was able...
No, you were not present.
I was not present.
That's the answer. Was this witness present?
He was not present, but he was the one responsible for procuring the evidence on what happened and how the propeller was damaged.
Who does he work for?
He has his own flight school, and he also manages my airplane in terms of the maintenance and the upkeep.
Okay. Could you step up, please? Tell me your last name.
Last name is Williams.
Mr. Williams, were you charged with gathering the evidence to determine what happened to the plane on the 22nd of April?
Yes, I was.
And you're paid a monthly fee by the plaintiff to manage his plane.
That's correct.
Did you retain the defendant as an instructor, or did Mr. Lee?
That was both decided by Mr. Lee and Mr. Myers to fly for him.
But you
He's
did
an
not.
independent contractor. At that.
You did not have anything to do with, as the manager of the plane, you didn't have anything to do with selecting Mr. Meyer.
I did select Mr. Meyer to fly with Albert.
You did?
Yes.
Okay. Because were you the one who introduced him
That's
to Mr. Meyer?
That's correct.
When, Mr. Lee, did you start to work with Mr. Meyer?
It was probably a prior flight where we flew to San Francisco for a business meeting I had. After that, I believe it was...
In what month?
Roughly about the same month.
In April?
Yeah, in
so
April.
You didn't know him for a long time?
No, not very long.
I'm going to get back to you in a minute, Mr. Williams. Prior to the defendant, had anybody else been an instructor for you?
Yes. Clinton was my primary instructor, but I flew with some other instructors as well.
But it wasn't until the month that this incident occurred that you had been connected with the defendant?
Correct.
Okay. Now, sir, how were you advised that the plane that you managed was in an accident?
I received a phone call from Ed saying that there was a problem.
From whom?
From Mr. Myers, that there was a problem with the aircraft after he taxied and did the run-up and returned the aircraft back to Signature in Las Vegas. We notified and contacted a
Did you ask, what you would usually ask is what happened?
Yeah, what happened?
Just a second, and what did he say to you?
He said that he was having instrument problems with the aircraft and he wasn't able to take off, so he returned the aircraft. At that point in time, I contacted a Cirrus Service Center, had 2 technicians go out and look at the aircraft, see what was wrong. At the time, the technicians found that they...
Don't tell me what they found.
Okay.
You can't tell me what they found. It's hearsay.
They send me pictures of the damage of the propeller.
May I see the photographs? Okay, so that's a fresh damage.
Correct.
Can I scroll this?
Yes, you may.
Or it's just one? Okay, so you have a picture of that. You have a picture of the cone that has a slice in it.
Correct. That's the object he hit. We also have a video showing the plane taxi and hitting the cone at the time.
I'd like to see that as well.
Okay.
Okay, let's see what we got.
As you can see where the...
Just one second. Mr. Meyer, is that a fair and accurate representation of where the plane was before you moved it?
It should be on the last, on the far left side of that Learjet.
Okay. Oh. Mr. Meyer, do you see that you went over a cone?
It's interesting. I didn't even notice there was a cone.
You may not notice it, but you see it now.
Yes.
Okay.
Pilot instructor Ed Meyer is responsible for damage after Ed moved Albert's plane.
Okay.
In all of my years of flying, which is pretty significant, I was an airline pilot too, I've never, ever experienced that in my life.
Okay, but you see it now.
Yes.
It's not an on purpose. It's, you know, that's why they call them accidents. We don't mean for them to happen.
Right.
We don't mean for them to happen, but you do see that the plane did hit a cone.
Right.
Okay, and I have photographs of the cone that has a slice in it, and the same kind of slice from one of the propellers. Now, so that's conceded that Mr. Meyer did, in fact, hit the cone, which in all probability caused damage to the plane, caused damage to the propeller. Now, tell me about your insurance.
The insurance covered the propeller. They covered the teardown of the engine. When something strikes the propeller, they have to tear apart the engine, make sure the components...
Do you have those,
that
paperwork for me? I'd like to see it.
Okay, so here is the insurance-covered portion, and here is my covered portion that I had to come out of pocket to pick up the plane. And I
Okay.
can explain both invoices. And if you flip to the last page, that'll have the total. Insurance covered about 60-something thousand for the propeller and the engine teardown.
Okay. So the damaged propeller, Mr. Williams, causes you to have to take apart the engine, fix the engine if there was damage to the engine. Am I correct?
That's correct. The FAA requires anytime you strike an object with a propeller, the engine has to be inspected in the component parts. So they
Component parts of the engine.
Yeah, with the damage, potential damage of the engine, internal damage that could be caused by striking an object.
Okay. The insurance covered how much, sir? Mr. Lee?
It's, sorry, it's on the invoice 60, I think it was 63,000, 64,000. It's on the last page.
The last page shows
a deposit of
$63,000.
Yes, that's it.
The deposit was 40, balance due was 23. Did the insurance company pay the entire
They paid this entire
$63,000? This is what was submitted to them.
Yes.
Okay, now I'd like you to take a look at this, Mr. Meyer. No, I'm going to actually ask Mr. Williams to take a look at this document. These are the items, Mr. Williams, that Mr. Lee says were uncovered. I would like you to go through all those items and tell me which of those items relate to the engine and which do not.
Okay, is this the total?
Carefully, because I'm going to potentially ask you about each individual thing, because there looks to me like some things that bear no relation to an engine.
Okay, so most of the items that you see that are airworthiness on the airframe are the items that need to be inspected or replaced from the teardown. So your item 1, item 2, 3, 4, item 5, 6, 7, 8. These are all items that the repair shop goes through the engine and assesses whether it needs.
Well, tell me how the brakes would be impacted.
I don't think
would be impacted by hitting the.
Which invoice?
And I don't know, but how brakes would be impacted by hitting a nose cone.
Brake lining, I don't know what that is.
Okay. Yeah, some of these items, Your Honor, such as one of these items, the brake lines, as you pointed out, is probably not part of the.
Well, that's what I want you to go through, sir.
Okay.
Do you understand? I want you to take a marker, a pen, and circle, because I don't know a whole lot about
Okay.
airplanes, but I know a little bit about airplanes. I know what's routine maintenance and what has to be taken care of, because a plane either falls on its nose or falls on its tail, both of which I've experienced.
Well, this is a small invoice. This is not your. This is a 12.
Mr. Williams, don't ask him. I didn't ask you to have a conference with him.
Okay.
I asked you to look at that. You're the management company. I want you to strike those items that are not related to this accident and go through them very carefully, because.
Can I make a comment? Okay.
Nope.
To you directly.
Nope.
Okay.
Can I ask you something?
Can you ask me something?
Yeah. Well, they should tell you those cones are made of plastic.
I don't care. They're heavy cones. You hit the cone, and the plane flew perfectly fine before you hit the cone. It didn't run after you hit the cone. You don't have to be a genius to figure out the cone caused, your hitting of the cone caused damage to that plane. I mean, you're not talking about flying a 747. You're talking about a little this is a single prop plane.
Right.
Yeah. Me, they like those planes you put together, we used to put together with rubber bands. I wouldn't put my behind in one of those planes for all the money in the world.
The only items I can see, Your Honor, are 2 items that may not be related to the accident, items 7 and 8.
Okay, may I have that back, please, sir? And you are familiar with planes, sir, is that correct?
Yes.
Okay. So what you're saying is item
The circled item.
7 and 8.
Correct.
So we have.
There's a couple of invoices.
We have right and left main gear, but which is 143 plus 270 plus 66. What about item 9? Pitch, trim, jab, nut, loose. What is that?
Probably what they do during the inspection and the teardown, they go through the aircraft itself, make sure it's airworthy. So they probably caught another item or 2. You can probably put that on item that's wasn't part of the accident.
The big ticket items, adding up all of these items, Mr. Meyer, that probably have no relation to the accident which you caused.
Correct.
Still bring the total amount to more than this court's jurisdictional limit. Can you tell me, sir, why your insurance, Mr. Williams, let's go back to you. You manage this plane. Can you tell me why Mr. Lee's insurance didn't cover all the damage to the plane?
A lot of the prospective renters or instructors that everybody uses, or we used in this case, carry their own insurance for this type of incident. Their insurance covers basically downtime, loss of operation, or in this case...
You mean Mr. Meyer?
Yes.
Would have his own. Do you have your own insurance?
No.
No.
Albert Lee is accusing pilot instructor Ed Meyer of hitting a cone and damaging his plane. Ed says Albert was already paid by his insurance company.
Okay. Mr. Williams, you were the one who recommended
That's
Mr.
correct,
Meyer.
we did.
Don't you do a check to find out if they have their own insurance before you recommend someone?
He had insurance, but it was lapsed.
Well, that he didn't have insurance. I get that all the time. If you have insurance that's lapsed, then you have no insurance.
Yeah. As a flight school, our instructors are required to carry the insurance.
Okay, but that didn't happen here.
That's correct.
So you're lucky that he's not suing you because you managed the plane for him. And you recommended him, Mr. Williams, you know. When you have a management company that manages your plane, they're supposed to make certain that if you have a certain kind of plane, that you have pilots certified to fly those kinds of planes. And if they give me a list of pilots and those pilots aren't certified to fly the kind of plane that I might have, then it's the fault of the management company.
In this case here, the plaintiff and the defendant were working together as far as their payment and the fees they were going to charge.
That's okay. They may have been working head to head. I mean, it was Mr. Meyer's fault, but I'm just telling you that Mr. Lee relies on your advice. What business are you in, Mr. Lee?
I do commercial real estate. I sell shopping centers and office buildings.
Okay. That's not his business. That's why he hires you. And if he hires you, he asks you for recommendations as to where to get the plane repaired for an instructor. Now, the fact that he may pay him independently, he's relied on you for information. So I suggest, Mr. Williams, that you tighten up your ship a little bit. Mr. Meyer, you're responsible to the plaintiff for the damage that you caused his plane. Why did you let your insurance lapse?
It had lapsed. I just didn't even realize the fact that it had lapsed. I just realized the fact that when this came about, that's what happened.
Well, when was the last time you paid premiums?
Probably about a year before that.
Anything else you want to tell me, Mr. Meyer? You owe him $10,000. You caused the damage. You have to fix it. Judgment for the plaintiff. We're finished. Thank you.
This court is adjourned.
I understand her point, the fact that what she saw.
I thought she's very fair.
These cones are made out of plastic.
It's hard to believe. It sounds like a gun.
On the right side.
They place cones all the way around the aircraft, and it's part of your responsibility as a pilot in command to do a walk around pre-flight, make sure there's no object in front of your aircraft.
When I taxied out halfway down, that's when I recognized there was an ICAS message that came on.
I finally got it back, and no more student pilots won't let any CFIs fly for a while.
You know what I thought about in this case, Sarah? That lay people have to look at something, lay people, and while I'm a judge and have certain expertise, I have no expertise in reading slips that show what's been done on a car or an airplane or a train or a boat.
But we have common sense.
But we have common sense. And your brakes are not part of an engine. You know, you have an engine job, and then you have a brake job, and you have a...
I saw where you were going.
different kind. And, you know, if you have an accident that impacts on the right driver's door, if you put in a new wheel casing in the left rear door, well, that has nothing to do with an accident.
Probably just an oversight. He did state that those two items were not part of, you know.
He did.
He did at the end. But it just feels a little uneasy when they try and slip those things in there, that just common sense doesn't ring true, that it comes from the same.
You know, front, back, you know, the head of a horse, the tail of a horse, it doesn't fit in. And there's really no difference between not having insurance when you're driving a car And not having insurance as a flight instructor. Yeah, that's pretty serious.
I would think there would be a more rigorous check on that before you get behind an aircraft, the wheel of an aircraft.
Absolutely. You would think that there would be. Yeah. There's a flaw in the system someplace. Okay, I'm glad nobody was hurt.
Linda Bernadeschi is suing salesman Eric West for the cost of skincare products.
Court come to order. Hello, Judge. Case number 2114, Bernadeschi versus West.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Would you pronounce your last name for me?
Bernadeschi.
Bernadeschi.
Yes.
Well, I read your complaint. I somehow was taken back to my own experience just walking down any street that has a new cosmetic place. So I sort of believe I understand what your experience was, at least initially, with Mr. West. Mr. West, you're a salesman for what company? And where are they located?
Well, they're all over the United States, but I worked for one in San Francisco.
Where are the products manufactured?
In California, actually.
Where?
Chatsworth, California.
Okay. And they have brick and mortar stores all over the country, and they have many products, but under that one name.
Yeah, they have many products.
Many products, but they're all...
Yes. They have multiple products and multiple locations all through California, and it looks like a bit of Arizona as well.
How many?
Upwards of 20 locations.
Okay. And can you tell me, Sarah, is it a corporation?
I'd assume so. Their About page.
How long have you worked for the company, sir?
That company in that location, about 3 years.
Where is the corporate headquarters for the company?
It's located in San Mateo.
Do you know if the company was incorporated in the state of California?
Yes, I believe it was.
Under that name? It's not an answer.
Oh, yes, sorry, my apologies.
It looks like it was an LLC out of Oregon, but is listed as inactive as of 12/22 of 2020.
There's no company in California?
It just says the jurisdiction in which the LLC was created is Oregon. That's as far as I could tell. They have a company address that's listed in a head office in Portland, Oregon.
What do you know about Portland, Oregon?
It's a lot of hippies.
A lot of hippies. What about your company?
Oh.
Do you know anything about your company?
Yes, I think it's probably another location there as well.
Do you know anything about the company that you work for? Was it incorporated in the state of Oregon?
No, it was incorporated in California. And I think Oregon maybe has a franchise.
I can't tell from public record anything
from the state of California.
I tried looking up their headquarter information, and all I got was this Cosmetics LLC from Oregon.
Okay. And while I'm taking this information, I want you to take a look and see if there are any court cases. Sure. Let's try the state of California and the state of Oregon.
Sure.
And the only thing that you could find was the Oregon company under that name that is no longer active.
It might not be the same company, but it has the same name listed in Oregon, so I would assume so, but there's no information on their website about their headquartered information.
Anyway, Ms. Bernadeschi, trying to think of the date that you made these purchases. What date was it?
It was February the 21st, 2022.
And you were shopping, you were walking with your dog. Had a little dog?
Yes.
What kind of dog?
A Shih Tzu.
A Shih Tzu.
Yes.
My fave.
Oh, yeah, mine too. She's my third one.
You were walking in a mall. What mall and where?
In Santa Clara, California.
That's where you were working? How long had you been working there?
3 years.
Okay, this is what the case is about as far as I can tell. You were walking. Was it this gentleman who was standing outside?
No, it was
somebody else.
It was somebody else with a basket.
It was somebody else. One of the other people who works at your business?
I was the one who offered her a sample.
Outside?
No, in the front of the store.
Well, but it's in the front of the store.
I didn't step outside of the store. I was in the front of our store, not outside of it, but inside the store, and I handed her a sample.
Just a second. Sort of inconsistent with my life's experience of these things, but let's see. Had you gone to his store?
No.
You're walking through the mall. Is it an indoor mall or an outdoor mall?
Indoor.
And when you passed that store, tell me what happened.
I was en route to a specific store. A man with a basket was standing in front of the store.
So there was a man outside with a basket?
It was a basket. Holding
Where outside?
Right outside of the store.
And it wasn't this gentleman?
No, it was not.
Tell me what the person looked like who gave you the sample.
I believe he was Caucasian. He was shorter than Eric. I believe he was partially bald, and I believe he wore glasses, but I can't be sure. I would know him if I saw him.
Okay. And so continue with your story. You're standing there with a basket of samples outside the store.
Okay.
Totally consistent with my own personal experience.
Okay, so he offered me a sample of a product. And I said, no, thank you, I'm not interested. And he said, no, please. He said, you'll like it. And I said, I'm in a hurry, and I'm not interested in any of your products. At that point, Eric walked a couple of steps out from the store and started showering my dog and myself with compliments, just like over the top. And he said, why don't you come in my store? I've got a surprise for you. You are going to love me, he said. I said...
So he was doing his salesman shtick.
Yeah.
And from the smile on his face, it's exactly what he was doing, his salesman shtick.
Yeah, and pretty much
you were on commission.
Yes.
Right. Okay, so now he's showering both you and your little Shih Tzu with compliments and how beautiful the Shih Tzu is and how he's going to give you things that are going to take away this line and that line and this crease or whatever.
And I sound like such a sweet and kind person that, he's got a surprise for me.
I got it. Okay. Go ahead. So he got you into the store.
At that point, he asked me to have a seat. And again, I said, really, I'm not interested. I want to go. So then someone took my dog.
Where was the dog?
On a leash in my hand. And he says, here, I'll take your dog. And I said, no, I'll hold her. And he says, no, I'm going to take care of her. And I'm going, wait a minute. And next thing I knew, Eric was practically on top of me. This chair was located in a position, well, his chair was much higher than mine.
So you were sitting in a chair like mine?
Yeah, well, a chair, just like a
makeup chair?
Yes.
Or a hairdresser's chair?
Kind of like a makeup chair.
And he was sitting on a chair or a stool?
A stool.
Stool. Is that right, Eric? I'm talking to you.
Yes, Your Honor.
Okay, that's a yes. Okay. And your stool was higher than her chair?
That is incorrect. We both were sitting on stools.
The same stool?
The same stool.
Was yours higher?
No, it was the same size.
Okay, go ahead.
So at that point, he just started applying different products to I believe he started with my hand. And then, let me try some of this on your face. And I'm looking around for my dog, like, what's going on here? And because he was very aggressive and pushy. And
just tell me what he did without trying to editorialize.
Okay, so basically he
put on all this goop on your face, on your hands. Somebody else in the store was holding your dog while he was putting this on you. He didn't force you into the chair. He aggressively coaxed you into the chair, is what you're telling me, by complimenting you. I mean, he didn't physically drag you into the store. You walked in by yourself.
Right.
Okay. He was using his best aggressive salesman routine. Not easy to get somebody in the store, right, Eric? I mean, it was never easy to get me in one of those stores, and I shop with her all the time. And she's got more lotions and potions and stuff on her counter than any other human being I know. And I've never seen anybody successful in giving her a free sample and getting her into the store. So you must be very good, because we have a few of those stores right in the neighborhood. You must be really talented.
He is.
Just a second. So before we finish with her, and since you originally started, Mr. West, with, no, it was me outside. It wasn't you outside initially. It was somebody else. You came out afterwards. Well, actually, I believe her. So I want you to understand that her description of the person who initially approached her was so specific. And then the fact that you came out and joined that person, because then you became a tag team, is totally convincing to me. I want you to understand that.
She claims salesman Eric West owes her a refund for skincare products she never wanted.
Do you have family, Eric?
Yes, I do, Your Honor.
Living family?
Yes, I do.
Okay. You don't want to make a fool out of yourself here, right?
Absolutely not.
Great. So I want you to understand that I believe the plaintiff when she tells me you weren't the initial person out there who stopped her with a free sample.
I was the only one working that day, Your Honor.
I don't believe you.
Okay.
Because you couldn't have got her where you got her to which is the story she's going to finish, because by the time she got out of the store, she had $8,000 worth of your product.
Which is also not accredited by the Better Business Bureau and has multiple complaints out against them. So, just for the record.
No, that's an important record. Keep looking.
Okay, so at that point, I decided I'm going to leave and take my dog and get out of here. And I attempted to get up, and he was sitting higher up than I was in such close proximity that I was unable to fully stand up. And as he saw me attempting to, he comes back over with another product. He was across the store, and
well, if he was across the store, Miss Barnadacci, if he was across the store, then he wasn't hovering over you. So what I tried to tell you before is I want you to tell me not what you think is best for your case. If either he's standing over you so you couldn't get up, or he's across the room. If he's across the room because he went to get another product, you could have gotten up and left.
No, actually, he wasn't across the room. He was just like, I think it was at the desk behind.
Whatever, he wasn't right on top of you.
No.
You don't understand. I don't believe that you were held against your will in the store. I don't believe that they did that. I think he was overly aggressive and he chose a target.
Yeah, and I was...
Okay, and at what point did you purchase all of this product, which is the subject of this case, because you want your money back?
I didn't feel that I was going to be able to leave the store. I've been held against my will before and kidnapped. And I was literally traumatized at that point.
When were you held against your will and kidnapped?
Oh, this was like 15 years ago, maybe?
Well, I would remember that, whether it was 15 years ago. I want you to tell me about that. That forms part of who you are and who the person is that I have to consider with regard to whether or not this was a forced sale or just an overly aggressive salesman. So I want you to tell me, was there a police report of a prior kidnapping? There was?
Yes.
And did they actually find the people who kidnapped you?
Yes.
Was there a trial with regard to those people?
I don't believe so, because the guy was on parole, and so he didn't want to go to trial.
So they violated his parole and he went back to prison?
Yes.
And that was in California?
Yes. But
so when you were in the store and you said you felt as if you couldn't leave, you were under pressure, how many people were in the store?
Well, there was Eric and the gentleman that was standing outside of the store, and then a woman came from behind the register in the back room, and he was telling me how this woman is a world-renowned facial beauty massage, whatever, expert, running drag on me, pretty much. Let's just put it that way. Anyway,
now you're up from your chair. I want to know how the sale came about.
Well, because I didn't feel that I was going to be able to leave.
Okay, so tell me what happened.
Okay, so I said, look, I don't even have any money to cover this. And I'm looking...
To cover what?
He asked me for my identification. To cover the cost of these beauty products he wanted to sell me.
Okay, how many were there?
There was 4 or 5 different...
creams.
Creams, and then there was a device that, I don't know what you call them, but it was a device that he had used on me while I was sitting in the chair. And, you know, telling me, look in the mirror, doesn't this... You know, can't you tell a big difference? And he even took my phone and took a couple pictures of me. He says, look at it. I said, I can tell a little bit of a difference, but it's not worth the money. And again, I don't even have the money, so I really need to go. So he asked for my driver's license to register the product. And then he told me...
To register the product?
The product that I bought.
Oh, so you did say you would buy the device?
Yeah.
You did say you would buy the device. And how much was the device?
It was just shy of $8,000. I've got the receipts right
I'd like to see it. Do you have it with you?
Oh, the device?
Yeah.
No, I wish I would have brought it with me, but it hasn't been opened. I still have it. I haven't touched it. You wanted to see the receipts?
Yes.
Okay. They're right here.
By the way, what time of day did you go to the store?
This was approximately 6:30 because it was near closing time. Oh, here's the rest of them. I'm sorry. Yeah, I was going specifically for one lipstick. That was all I was at the mall for. And it was almost closing.
Sarah Rose, take a look under that name.
I didn't find a device on their website. I already looked if that's what you're going to.
You looked at this 3D ultrasound and face body?
I've just found 6 products that are creams for face and body on the website.
I'd like to see what this 3D ultrasound is, this $8,000 piece of equipment that you sold her. You have a picture of it? Okay. Could you get that for me? He's going to give it to Sarah. Sarah's going to look up this nonsense.
Thank you.
Some more receipts.
So what I see that you did was spread some of this around different credit cards.
Yes.
And you want to tell me how did that happen?
Well, I said, these aren't even my credit cards. I'm on the roommate's. And he says, well, you could put half on your roommate's credit card. And I says, no, I am not going to do that. And he says, yeah, make him pay for it. And I'm looking at this guy like, what's going on?
What are you doing with your roommate's credit cards?
Because he's an older gentleman. I've got the power of attorney, and I shop for him. He's not able to do all that.
Is he a roommate, or are you a caregiver?
He's a roommate. We've lived together for 30 years. Anyway, just a very
He hasn't been old and sick for 30 years.
Well, he's kind of...
He may be old and sick now, but he wasn't old and sick for 30 years.
Oh, well, no. I mean...
Do you live together as a couple for 30 years? Do you live together as an almost couple?
No, he's like my father almost. We each have our separate rooms, and I pretty much take care of his house and cook for him. And he doesn't go many places. He's pretty much a recluse. He doesn't like to go to the store. And so I do all the grocery shopping and everything.
Okay.
Linda Bernadeschi is accusing salesman Eric West of holding her against her will and selling her an unwanted skincare wand.
Do we have a picture of that thing? Juven. It's.
Yeah, I have it.
What?
I have it. It looks like this. It's got this on one side, and then I don't know what this is trying to show you.
Ultrasound, face and body, slimming.
Yeah.
Sure look like she needs slimming.
She asked for something that would tighten her skin, as she said that in her younger years she had a lot of issues with drug abuse when we had our conversations, and she's asking for something that can actually help her look more youthful and help her skin tighten. And this is something that she discussed with me when we were sitting at the table.
What's your educational experience?
High school, college.
Where?
I went to like a couple of film and television schools.
I asked you what college you went to.
Oh, Olympic College in Washington State.
And was that a 4-year program?
2-year.
2-year. Is that a brick and mortar college, or is that an online college?
Brick and mortar.
And what did you study there?
Just the basics.
What basics?
Gen Eds, you know, your associates, your Gen Eds. And it had nothing to do with my sales and skincare, but my sales and skincare, I actually deal with every client fairly, and I pride myself in
Don't tell me
integrity.
that you deal with every client fairly. She wanted her money back the next day.
She didn't want her money back the next day. She didn't even come back the next day.
When did she come back?
It was like a week or two later. She came back to the store and wanted a refund, and I said, well,
No, just a second. Okay. She came into the store on February 21st, 2022. You get home with all these products. You spread it around. Let's say this is aggressive salesmanship. Now you're home. You had a previous experience with being taken against your will and held against your will, according to what you told me.
Yes.
So you know that when that happens, the police get involved. You didn't go to the police.
No, not
when you left to say, you know, I was held against my will. You took the products and you took the products home, right?
Well, I didn't go directly home. I went to my friend's house. She lives 2 blocks from there. I was so traumatized I couldn't drive, and I was beside myself.
Okay, that was February 21st.
Yes.
So what did you do next with regard to Mr. West?
Okay, so by that time it was about 9 o'clock at night, 10 when I got home, and I thought, well, I'll call tomorrow to tell him I want a refund. Actually, I called him and told him that, and he says, well, you're supposed to be down here.
When did you call him and tell him you wanted a refund?
It was the next day, when he called me the next day and says, "Where are you?" And I says, "I'm at home." And he says, "Well, how come you're not here for your free 12 facials that I offered you?" And I says, "I don't want anything from you." And I didn't ask for anything from him.
So he called you to come in for a free facial?
Yes.
And
I says, "I don't plan on coming in for any of the facials, much less 12 of them. What I'd like to come in for is a refund on these products that I don't need." And I felt pressured into buying yesterday, and I can't, I don't want them.
You say that didn't happen for a week?
Your Honor, she had a contract with us for 6 months worth of treatments, hydrofacials, that we included in her purchase that she signed. And
I'd like to see what she signed.
It's actually on my phone. I didn't print out a copy. I
Why not?
Because I was rushing this morning and I was...
Well, you were rushing this morning. You knew you were coming to court for days. What do you mean you didn't print out a contract? Do you have a copy of a contract that you signed?
Yes, I do.
Fine. I'll take a look at your copy.
I also have a police report. Do you want to see the
I'd like to see a police report, and I'd like to see a copy of the contract you signed.
Okay, and here's some fictitious businesses that he's got as well. Okay,
I
the contract.
can't hear. Just hand me the stuff. Okay, this is the police report. I want to see the contract. I'll read the police report while you're looking for it.
Here's the contract.
Skincare, is that your company?
Is that the product you're referring to?
Yes.
Those are the medical devices that we actually retail in the store, and we demonstrate them on the clients. And then typically clients, when they see a difference, they're like, "Oh, wow."
Listen, you're not selling me, sir.
Oh,
stop
I understand.
This is not a sales pitch to me. What's your commission when you sell an $8,000 light to make your skin nice? What's your commission?
20%.
So yours personally is 20%. How much do they buy them for?
I'm not sure.
What do you think? What do you think?
I'm
Take
not-
a good guess. You've been working for them for 3 years.
I don't know, and I think that you'd have to factor in like the rent for the establishment and all of those things. So I don't really know what the profit margin would be.
Your Honor, on their website, they state that each individually owned brick and mortar store is not affiliated with them, that they
So
run
it's
their
franchise.
own stores. It's sort of a franchise-esque situation.
Who owns your store, or is it a franchise?
It's a franchise?
It's not a question. It sounded like you were asking me a question. Is it a company-owned store, or is it a franchise?
There's a company that owns the store.
But it's a franchise.
Yes, I believe so. I'm not familiar with the legalities of the location and all the business agreements and
Who hired you?
It wasn't hire. I was in business with him.
Okay, well, it's getting more interesting. Okay,
Yes.
so it wasn't to hire. You're in business with a man whose name is what? Don't think about it.
I don't
if
know.
you're in business with somebody, you're a smart boy. You
I don't know how to pronounce
You
his
went to a
last name.
2-year college. What's the name of your business partner?
I don't know I don't know how to pronounce the last name.
What?
I don't know how to pronounce the last name.
Spell it.
So I don't actually know how to spell it. I'm sorry.
And who leases the store where you are? Don't look up in the air. It's going to get only worse.
To be continued. Previously on Judy Justice.
He aggressively coaxed you into the chair, is what you're telling me, by complimenting you. I mean, he didn't physically drag you into the store. You walked in by yourself.
Right.
So you must be very good.
She asked for something that would actually help her look more youthful. The medical devices that we actually retail, we demonstrate them on the clients. And then typically clients, when they see a difference, they're like, "Oh, wow."
Listen, you're not selling me, sir. I want to know how the sale came about.
And next thing I knew, Eric was practically on top of me. Well, I didn't feel that I was going to be able to leave the store. I've been held against my will before and kidnapped.
Who hired you?
Wasn't hired. I was in business with him.
Okay, well, it's getting more interesting.
I'm sorry.
And who leases the store where you are? Don't look up in the air. It's going to get only worse.
And now, the conclusion. Linda Bernadeschi is suing salesman Eric West for deceptively selling her skincare products she never wanted.
You know, I'm not sure she's entitled to a refund on all the products that she bought. I'm not thoroughly convinced yet that this was a situation where she was held against her will. But I've always been fascinated by these stores that want me to pop in and they give me a little white plastic thing and they stand outside, try this product. And, you know, you pass by and you say, no, thank you. I'm not interested. No, you're beautiful. You know, this can take away the wrinkles in your face. I say, I make my money with my wrinkles in my face. Right? And I don't want to take them away. I want them to stay. So that's what it is. So I've always been fascinated as to the business aspect of it. And I digress for a moment because there was some scam company that was all over the internet that said I had created a skin line years ago. Couldn't find them. And they had all kinds of accolades, and it looked like it was sold through major companies online and endorsed. They had pictures all over. It was a scam. And they've done the same thing to numerous other people. And it's all scam. And you can't find them because they're on telephone banks someplace, here and here. And as soon as the federal authorities get to one, they close down one and they go someplace else, sometimes offshore. So we were unable to find them. So all you could do is get on the horn and say to people, I don't own a skincare line. I've never endorsed a skincare line. Don't buy products that say that they're mine. So I've always wanted to know about these guys who stand in front and try to get you into the store with a little packet of freebies. So now it's your joint business?
Yes.
How much did you put up?
I honestly, I can't recall.
You can't recall how much money you put up? You've only been there 3 years.
I know, I don't remember how much the initial investment was.
Well, give me an idea. Was it $5,000, $500?
A lot more than that.
Well, if it's a lot more than that, you want to tell me how much your contribution was.
Couple hundred thousand.
It was a couple of $100,000. That was your contribution to the store.
Mm-hmm.
Is not an answer.
Yes, Your Honor.
Where did you get the $200,000 from?
I worked for it.
For whom?
I worked different jobs.
How old are you?
37.
And you had $200,000. You said a couple of $100,000. That's two. You had $200,000 so that you could invest that. Mm-hmm. Is that correct?
Yes. And before having a skin business, I had a grocery store on the XL Mobile campus in Spring, Texas.
Okay.
We generated some revenue, and so I thought to open a spa and do products, sell products, and go that route. And I really do pride myself in integrity. I literally, every client that walks in, and I'm not just saying that.
If you pride yourself in integrity, and within a few days of being in your store and selling this lady who had absolutely no intention of going shopping that day, an $8,000 beauty wand that's going to make her look like she's 30, she says, listen, I made a big mistake. I don't want this product. I want to bring it back. Let's say I keep the creams, but this was $8,000, and I don't have that. Why didn't you take it back?
Your Honor.
That's a question, Mr. West. If you pride yourself on integrity.
I'm explaining. She came back way past the allotted time.
What's the allotted time?
We have a 14-day in-store exchange only for in-store credit policy when you purchase a product. She told me that she was using her husband's credit card. Now I'm coming to find out that it's her roommate or guy that she's living with. I don't know the whole story, but I can tell you that the whole interaction with her was extremely professional. There was no aggression.
I just asked you why. Now you have a lady who I've met, actually.
Yes.
Just here. And she gets home and she said, my God, what did I do? How did I get this? A lot of fast talking here and a lot going on. And now I'm walking out with almost $10,000 worth of product. And I was going to buy a lipstick. And she says to you, I want to return this wand thing, whatever it is, for $8,000. And if what you're saying is you run a reputable business and you're busy and you've had enough money to put down $200,000 in this business, by the way, you do file taxes every year, don't you? Yeah. When was the last time you filed income tax returns? What year?
This year.
How much did you earn?
$173,000.
From this business?
From different businesses, but yes.
Are you in this location all the time?
Yes, typically in that location, yes.
When you're typically not in that location, where are you?
Florida.
Where?
Miami.
What do you do in Miami?
Well, most people do, sit on the beach.
Well, how often do you work?
Pretty much almost every month. And I take my weekends and I'll fly and spend 3 days and then work.
In Miami?
Yeah.
You go from California to Miami. Great.
Defendant Eric West claims the plaintiff, Linda Bernadeschi, purchased products with a no-refund policy. Linda felt she could not leave unless she bought the items.
So you still haven't answered my question. She comes into you within a relatively short period of time after she purchased all this product. She said, I don't have the money. I have to return this piece of equipment. And you
said
told...
that she... Oh, sorry, I
Go
apologize.
ahead.
She said that she found the products cheaper online a week and a half to 2 weeks later. She was upset.
Just a second. Did you call and say you found the products cheaper online?
Yes, but it wasn't that. It wasn't 2 weeks later.
How much later?
A week at the most.
Oh, which products did you find cheaper?
The wand. I couldn't find the other products at all.
Okay, but you said you found the wand cheaper. Is that what you told him?
Yes.
Now, you looked for the wand. You had to go on, like Sarah does, on the machine.
Right.
And look for it. And now I have to assume, Ms. Bonadacci, I have to assume that if you went online to look at it, you tried it, because that makes sense. I want you to be very careful with your answer and not give me an answer that you think is going to help your case. But if I took the trouble to go online to try to find something, it would mean because I liked the product. So I would have tried it.
No.
Did you use the wand?
No, I have not. It's still in its original packaging. There's no way it could be opened and sealed back up. There's no way. I looked online because I wanted to see how much I got ripped off for.
Okay. And when you went online, how much did you find it for?
$597, I believe.
The same thing? Can I see what you found for $597?
Kind of.
Do you know what she's talking about?
I know that when you go and you buy a Cartier ring from Cartier, you can get it online for a cheaper price.
Listen to me, sir. It's not what I'm talking about.
Okay, sorry. My apologies.
Mr. West.
I see what she's talking about. It's a very similar looking device listed for $575 from a different store. Yeah. This is the initial one that I showed you for that amount. That's what the defendant handed us a copy of. This, for this price, is the same. I just copied and pasted the name of the machine into Google, and this came up. So it looks a little bit different, but same concept.
Would you go back to the other one, please, Sarah, the first one? And I want you to show me the comments that gave it a 5-star rating. 2 reviews.
Yeah, there it is.
Just want to look at it.
Looks like one from 2019.
Okay, let me see the next one, please.
And now that I'm reading it, this looks as if it's for a different device. This says electrobionic.
So the review
that's listed here looks to be for a different device.
A different product.
Yeah.
Okay. No, she found it. Okay. She found it for me.
Sorry.
She found it for me, different color, whatever. Anyway, so you called him about a week later.
Yes.
You called him about a week later and said, I found it cheaper.
Yes.
And what did he say to you?
He said, well, I can't give you a refund. He said that would have to be up to corporate. So I'll have to get a hold of them and get back with you. Well, he never did.
Taking what you say is true, you called him a week later and said, I found this very expensive product. The other thing were facial creams and potions and lotions, whatever. I'm not so concerned about those. I'm concerned about this $8,000 item. So you called and said to him, with regard to the $8,000 item, I found it cheaper.
I don't think I told him that, no.
Okay, now let me read the police report. Okay. Have you seen the police report, sir?
No, I have not.
Okay. So this is a police report by an officer who you don't know and doesn't know you. What happened was on the 8th of March, he received a dispatch to go to a location because the plaintiff had complained that she felt on the 21st of February that she couldn't leave the store and she spent over $9,000 at the store. So he went to see her because the case was a false imprisonment case. And it said, while officer was en route, he asked his dispatch if there was any history involving your location. And it said there were 2 previous incidents involving your store. You're aware of that?
Yes, Your Honor.
Yes. And he read the papers of the events. There were 2 different complaints, 2 different complainants that were very similar that were reported by this plaintiff. Said that the other 2 victims were lured into the store and they felt as if they were not able to leave until they purchased products. One of the reports stated that the victim had spent over $100,000 on recurring charges and products that she didn't want. So, in a very small area, there's a little history there. I'm reading you what the complaints are, sir. Do you understand?
Absolutely.
Okay, let me finish. Okay, so the next day on February 22nd, you said you wanted a refund for the device. This is what you say, not for the creams, not for anything else, just for the device.
Yes.
Okay.
Your Honor, she didn't pay for the creams. She paid for one cream out of all the creams that she got.
Whatever.
Okay.
But that's not where you made your money.
No, I know. It's on the machine.
That's not where you made your money, is on the lotions and potions. Okay, suspect 2, that was you, told him he was unable to give her a refund and would have to be done by corporate. Were you the one who told her that?
I spoke to her.
That's
No, I
either a
did not
yes or
say
a
that.
no.
No, I did not say that.
Tell me what you said.
I told her that she signed a no refunds agreement, and she understood that she purchased the sale, that it was a final sale because she got what she received.
What did she receive?
She received 6 months worth of services that she did not want, which were complimentary. She also received a full skin regimen, day cream, night cream, cleanser, toner, eye serum, eye cream, peeling gel.
And she paid how much for all of that stuff?
Nothing. She only bought one eye cream. That was the initial.
Just a second. How much was the eye cream?
It was $600, I believe.
Defendant Eric West claims the plaintiff, Linda Bernadeschi, purchased products with a no refund policy. Linda felt she could not leave unless she bought the items.
The eye cream was $600. Okay. All right. Mr. West, I'm not going to waste any more time with this case. You're going to get your $8,000 back when Mr. West gets back his sealed wand. Do you understand?
Yes.
If it's been opened.
It hasn't.
If it's been opened, it belongs to you. Do you understand?
Yes.
If it's been opened and it came in a sealed package, it belongs to you. As soon as Mr. West receives, you're still in the same location? Are you still in the same location? That's either a yes or a no.
I'm not in the location, no.
What?
There's another operator there, but just for the record, I believe that we opened the device because she wanted to know how to use it at the store.
Just a second.
Okay.
So then you have no problem,
Okay.
sir. Do you understand?
Yes.
Unless she can return the item to you sealed, because she says it's sealed, and there's no way that it could have been opened. That's what she told me. If she opened it, that means she tried it. And if she tried it, it belongs to you. Mm-hmm. Do you understand?
Yes.
So within 5 days, he gets the product back. What?
I just want to show you this final sale
Just a
agreement
second.
that she wrote.
I understand what it says, sir. I understand what it says. I also understand that your little company had 2 prior complaints from that location. And it takes an awful lot for somebody who feels as if they've been taken advantage of to actually go to the police. Most people just write it off and said, I was being a real schlemiel and I was duped by this dope, or a dope that was duped by this dope. And just say,
Your Honor,
I'm going to eat it. What I'm telling you, sir, is I buy an awful lot of junk for my face. That's what old people do. They buy lotions and potions and stuff. I even steal some of hers. And I have plenty of dough. I have never, ever in my life spent $600 on eye cream. Ever. And so if she spent $600 on eye cream, that means she could have bathed in all the other products and you still would have made money. She is going to get her money back for this worthless piece of accessory, because it's worthless to her because she hasn't used it and she doesn't want it. And she's going to get it back from you when she produces the sealed package. That's it. And you're her witness?
Yes.
Do you live close by to this shop?
Yes.
Do you still run that place when you're not sunning in Miami?
No, and those are the only...
Just a second. The answer is no. What happened to that business at that location?
There's another operator coming in, and our contract ended recently. So there's another company coming in to run it.
Sounds like such a Ponzi scheme. The whole thing sounds like such a Ponzi scheme.
No, it's called COVID.
Judgment for the plaintiff in the amount of $8,000 when she produces the sealed item. Thank you very much. We're done here.
This court is adjourned.
This woman clearly had a bad episode of buyer's remorse, was emotionally unstable, used somebody else's credit cards that claims to be her husband, and God only knows what other kind of schemes she's trying to pull.
Well, I think the judge made a very sound decision because the guy is a total fraud.
She actually took advantage of me and took my time for 3.5, almost 4 hours, asking me, what is this? How does this work? What is this? How does that work? And I literally used all these products that she purchased and got to see results from that she was happy with when she left.
Absolutely manipulated me, went out of his way to manipulate me.
Well, she opened it in the store, so if she does return it, she'll have to seal it again with some kind of plastic sealer that they use like for those old VHS tapes when they used to seal them after you watched them from Hollywood Video.
Beware, because there's a lot of frauds out there.
I stand by my products.
The product is intact.
For once in my life, I am so glad that when I'm walking on the street, and we've encountered these people in our walks just around, like you said, around our neighborhood, for my resting bitch face. Because never once have they looked at me and said, she looks like an easy target for us to pull into the store. Not once.
Would you give me an example of...
Just, I think living in New York City as a woman alone, taking the subway for 3 years.
I want you to look at me.
No, I can't recreate it. You know it when you see it. You know it when you see it. I'm sure it's on one of our episodes. But I just am so disgusted with people like that know exactly what they're doing. He suns himself in Miami on the weekends, all on the backs of these poor older people who feel pressured, and maybe like she was saying, she lives with someone who's a recluse, who I'm sure she doesn't speak to that many people, and that's the whole scam. And I just feel so terrible that this guy takes pride in his business that is scamming people.
It looks like a little bit of a shady business that he went into for $200,000, and now somebody else took it over.
And not anyone with a last name.
Yeah,
There's
right.
never anyone with a last name involved in these things.
People have to be careful. You know, in the law, caveat emptor, let a buyer beware. That's okay. But this over-aggressive salesmanship reminds me, Sarah, of something that the Legal Aid Society, who were the defense team in family court, would argue in a closing statement in a robbery case to me. They would say to me, it's not a robbery. He was aggressively panhandling. That's what it was. It wasn't a robbery. Yeah. It was an aggressive panhandle. This is just aggressive salesmanship, is what he's saying. Well, the line crosses between aggressive salesmanship and and what amounts to, at least in her case, and the case of at least 2 other people who went into that store feeling that they were uncomfortable about leaving unless they purchased something. You know, you and I are tough birds. We would, you say, well, we're leaving. Oh, really? We're not leaving until we buy something? Yeah, right. But some people can't do that. That's not in their character. Anyway, if somebody puts them out of business, another business will just pop up. Yeah. Because as, I don't know, was it W.C. Fields said, there's a sucker born every minute. I'm not exactly sure who said it, but somebody will.
Matthew Klinghoffer is suing fellow motorist Robin Major for scooter damages after Robin hit Matthew's scooter.
Court come to order. All rise.
Have a seat, everyone.
Hello, Judge. Case 2197, Klinghoffer versus Major.
Thank you. You were riding a motor scooter.
Yes, ma'am.
Can you describe it for me, please?
It is a 2018 Yamaha Zuma.
Is that a small?
No, I got a picture of it here.
Can I see that, please? Yeah, well, it's small.
Yeah, it's a small vehicle.
You were on this vehicle with a child?
Yes, ma'am.
That was your son, who's how old?
12.
What's his name?
Justin Barr.
He's not here today?
No.
Why not?
He has autism.
And you were riding with him going where on October 20th of last year?
I just picked him up from school and I was on my way home.
How far is it?
The school is less than a half a mile from my home.
Do you pick him up every day?
Most of the time, yeah, but since this accident, I have not picked him up since. Mom does.
So there's a car available to pick him up. It's your claim that the defendant, while acting negligently, hit your scooter and damaged it.
Yes, ma'am.
You want him to be responsible. That happened on the 22nd of October. I assume sometime after 3 o'clock?
Yes, it was at 3:18.
In what state do you live?
Evansville, Indiana.
Is there any sort of helmet rule in Indiana?
No, ma'am.
Yes, there is.
My son, for a child, yes.
Just a second. So the answer is either yes or no. You
yes,
said no.
So for me, no. For my son, yes.
Was your son wearing a helmet?
Yes, ma'am.
No, he wasn't.
Shh. No, listen to me. Shh. Don't speak.
He had a small purple bicycle helmet on.
Now, you wear a helmet because?
To keep him from getting his head hurt.
Hurt?
Yeah.
Right. Well,
Which
just for my own interest, why wouldn't you wear a helmet to prevent you from getting hurt?
Dumb is what dumb does.
Well, that would be an answer, because that sounds sort of reckless to me.
Yes, ma'am. I wear a helmet now.
And I'm not so sure your son was wearing a helmet on the 22nd of October either, sir. So I want you to be very, very careful when I ask you this question again. Are you positive that your son was wearing a helmet on the 22nd of October?
No, ma'am, I wasn't 100% positive, but he normally always is.
I understand you have some sort of a chart to try to explain to me what the accident was. This is your version of the accident. So you want to step over there, Mr. Klinghoffer?
Yes, ma'am.
That would be you and your son riding, both of you, probably without helmets. And it looks, that's your version, and it looks as if...
sitting in traffic.
Just a second.
Sorry.
And it looks as if there's a lot of traffic.
Yes, ma'am.
So a lot of traffic, no helmets, you're on your way home, and go ahead.
I was just sitting in traffic here, waiting for the train to clear, and he comes out of his driveway and backs right into me.
Okay.
No horn, no regard of me being there.
Wait 1 second. On the other side, this is your chart.
Yes, ma'am.
On the other side of where the defendant's driveway is, which I assume is the blue car, that's his driveway, is that a street?
Yes, ma'am.
You know where I'm talking about?
Yes,
Point to where I'm talking about.
This is a street
Yes,
called...
that's a street.
Yes.
And that's a street that has cars.
Yes, ma'am.
Right. So one would say you should not be in that intersection.
Well, I
just a
didn't...
second. Just a second. One would say, even in your chart, you should not be in that intersection. You should be either have enough room in front or wait until the traffic moves, because you're stuck in the middle. So a car can't move out of...
I was actually sitting about right here.
Well, this is your chart.
Yes, ma'am.
So you indicate that that chart is not absolutely correct.
No, it's
and
not.
that your scooter was right behind the three cars.
Behind these three cars here.
But still in the intersection.
Yes, ma'am.
Just a second.
We was coming to a rolling stop as the arms were coming down, so I didn't know where I was going to stop at, so I was rolling with traffic. And the vehicle that was in front of me was also pulling a trailer, and I couldn't see around it. It was a big box trailer.
So you couldn't see what was in front of you?
No, I could not. And I got as far away from his driveway as I possibly could.
No, you weren't even thinking about his driveway, sir. Let's be square. You know, it's not a good idea to make things up as you go.
No.
You didn't even know that his driveway was there.
Yeah, I did.
You did?
I knew it was there, but I was trying to get it far enough out of the way of the intersection. I didn't think he was going to come out of his driveway and back into me, ma'am.
Well, so you were watching the other side, not the driveway?
Yeah,
Is that what
looking
you
at
say?
the intersection, just making sure I got out of the intersection, got past the yellow line.
Okay. So he clipped the...
Rear, right by my taillight.
Yeah, back here.
Yes, ma'am.
And what happened? You can go back now.
And it literally just shoved me over.
Okay, go back. So it shoved you over. Now, when it shoved you over, did you land on one foot or did you land on the pavement?
Oh, we landed on the pavement. I tossed my son up because he was sitting in front of me. Up onto his feet.
Oh, hold on. Hold the phone. Hold the phone. Your son was sitting in front of you.
Yes.
Is that what he said?
He was sitting in front of me.
So your son was driving?
No, he was not driving. I was driving.
I'm trying to get this picture in my head.
I'm being a protective
with this little, just a second, with this little scooter. Your son was in front of you. This is one seat. So he was sitting in front of you.
Yes, ma'am.
Your 12-year-old?
Yes, ma'am.
Yes. And how tall is your 12-year-old?
Probably about 5 foot, if that.
My size?
Yes.
So, like a fully grown adult. He may be not yet fully grown for a kid, but I'm a fully grown adult, and I'm 5 feet tall, and I've been that my whole life. So I'm an adult.
Yes.
Right? Okay. So your adult child is sitting in front of you. You're sitting behind him.
Yes.
Now, I want you to explain to me, hold out your arms. I want you to explain to me how your son is in front of you, you're behind him in the back part of this seat, and you're driving. I want you to explain that to me.
Matthew Klinghoffer claims fellow motorist Robin Major hit Matthew's scooter while Robin was pulling out of his driveway.
Go ahead.
I'm reaching around my son and driving. I've been doing it since I was 16. I've been driving scooters since I was 16.
Hey, you may have been driving scooters when you're 16, but I've been using my common sense for 80 years. And I don't see why your son wasn't sitting behind you so you didn't have to lean over on that big, long seat in order to be maneuvering this scooter. I'm not visualizing that, Mr. Klinghoffer, so I want you to take a deep breath. Kevin, let me see Mr. Major's diagram. So I want you, your son is sitting in front on the seat. You're sitting in the raised portion behind him. I want you to put that down there.
Which sitting back there in the raised portion makes me sit up much higher than him.
Sarah, does your research indicate how long this thing is? Does it give any dimensions?
I'm sure I could find it.
Okay, so he clipped the back and you fell off?
We fell over. I stood my son back up. I got up.
So you fell over and son got up?
I got my son up. I got up. He was still pushing my vehicle. I got up to smack on the back of his window. And then he gets out and aggressively screaming at me, "Why are you smacking on my window? Why are you trying to break my window?"
Okay.
I asked him, "Why are you still proceeding to try to run over my vehicle?"
But he's not trying to run over your vehicle, sir. What kind of car did he have? He had a truck.
Chevy Blazer, 2003.
Big one. He's in a very high SUV, right? And you're in a very low scooter. Now, neither you or your son went to the hospital, is that right?
No, ma'am.
Neither you or your son had medical treatment at the scene.
My son was looked over, but that was
Just a second. Neither you had medical treatment at the scene.
No.
Neither you or your son went to a doctor.
No.
Now, do you have a photograph of what your scooter looked like after this accident? Because this is his photograph.
That's after the accident. Here's another one.
Okay, I'd like to see what your photograph looks like.
There's all of them.
Mr. Klinghoffer of the motorcycle, because Mr. Major is handing me up his photographs of what this looks like.
Here's the whole stack.
Okay, so what we're talking about is this piece right here.
That's my exhaust. And
Just a second, that's what's damaged.
That and the upper panel there.
I don't see anything damaged in the upper panel.
On picture, it shows it.
I'd like to see
I bet
it.
it does. Now, on that muffler, that's rust.
That's not rust.
I might not know nothing about scooters, but I know what rust is.
Mr. Major.
Yes, ma'am.
I don't know what's wrong with you. I made myself clear pleasantly to you, respectfully to you, but you certainly understood that here we don't talk to each other.
Yes, ma'am.
That you will have a turn right now. It's his turn.
Yes, ma'am.
And Your Honor, that wheelbase is 50 inches, so about 4 feet wheel to wheel.
Okay, so let me see. So from here to here, wheel to wheel is 4 feet. So sitting on the back here, in order to get to the handlebars.
Maybe like 3 feet.
3 feet. Hold out your arms. Nah. Okay. Now, just to complete your story, sir, Mr. Klinghoffer, this happened in October, and you said you wear a motorcycle helmet now, or a helmet now, since the accident.
Yes, ma'am.
Since this accident.
It scared me straight.
And did you or did you not have the scooter repaired?
No, I have not had it repaired.
Just a second. So the answer is no. Pay attention, Mr. Klinghoffer, from which I deduce, you're looking at your papers, from which I deduce that the motor scooter is operable. You've been using it since October, despite the, oh yes, that's what you just said.
I haven't been using it.
Who's been using it?
I got 3 others.
No.
I got 3 other scooters that I've been driving.
I don't
have
believe,
not been driving
just
that
a
one.
second, I don't believe you, sir.
Okay.
I want you to be really careful about what you say to me. You do wear a helmet now. Now you know where I'm going, Mr. Klinghoffer. Since the accident, so does your son. There is nothing that appears to be mechanically wrong with this motor scooter in either your photographs or his. Nothing mechanical.
Estimate.
I don't care what your estimate says, sir. My naked eye. First of all, you understand that I'm doubting.
I understand,
I'm doubting big parts of your story, Mr. Klinghoffer.
I understand, ma'am.
I doubt big parts of your story about whether or not you were wearing a helmet. I don't think your son was wearing a helmet. I think that this diagram indicates to me that you were in a place where you shouldn't have been. That's your diagram. He has his own diagram that'd probably be very different. So I am going to assume, because that's my common sense, that you and or your son have been riding this motor scooter since October and that it hasn't sat idly. I don't care what you got, because the pictures belie the fact that this motor scooter was damaged beyond being rideable. And that's if it was his fault. Okay, now we've got his picture, now we're coming to you. Is that a fair and accurate representation
Yes.
of the accident site?
No, it's not.
Yes.
Now,
how would you know? You wasn't even there. You didn't show up 20 minutes after the fact.
Excuse me.
You did not show up. She wasn't even there.
I'm gonna throw you out, and you're gonna lose this. I'm gonna throw you out, and you're gonna lose.
When you called him an idiot in front of my son.
Okay, she's gone. Gone, gone, gone.
Yeah. I know why you can't afford insurance.
Gone.
We wouldn't be here today if he had insurance.
Did you understand why I threw your wife out?
Yeah.
Yeah. I don't know what you people think this is all about. The fact that he had no, is what you say to me, he had no insurance, which is why you're here?
Yeah, we wouldn't be here right now if he had insurance, and insurance would have took care of all
Yeah,
that.
well, it's possible, Mr. Klinghoffer, that you wouldn't be here right now, and I haven't made a decision yet if you weren't driving recklessly, without helmets, with your son, who, according to you, has issues, the 12-year-old driving the motor scooter.
He was not driving.
I don't believe you.
I don't believe you either.
I don't care whether you believe me. You're not judging me, I'm judging you. So that means that if I don't believe you, that's important. If you don't believe me, that is irrelevant.
Matthew Klinghoffer is accusing fellow motorist Robin Major of hitting him and his son while Robin backed out of his driveway.
Okay. Your statement, Mr. Major, based upon this diagram, is that the defendant pulled out and was to sort of beat the traffic and was driving not in a lane, which suggests to me, sir, that you saw him.
I didn't see him.
Well, how do you know that he pulled out?
When I was backing out, the car that's adjacent there waved me out.
You mean the car
behind?
Go over there. I know what you're talking about, just so that we're clear. The car behind said you.
This car, as I'm coming out my driveway, he's saying, he's waving me out.
He's waving you on to suggest that it's clear.
So I'm coming out, and I didn't see him, Your Honor.
You didn't see him?
No.
Okay. Now go back. Now, Mr. Major, we're going to get to insurance. Were you driving your car uninsured?
I wasn't driving. I was moving my...
Oh, no. Be very careful what you say to me. You put a key in the ignition. You turned the ignition on. You put the car in reverse.
Yes, ma'am.
Started to move. That's driving.
Yes, ma'am.
And driving far enough into the street so you weren't on your property.
No, my car was still in.
Oh, no, Mr. Major. Mr. Major, you said that that's a fair and accurate representation of the accident scene.
That's my driveway.
The back of your car is not in the driveway. The back of your car is in a public street. That's what you said.
I wouldn't know.
Yeah, he was. Listen to me, Mr. Major. I'm an equal opportunity abuser. You have to understand that. So please, I'm sort of ancient, but please don't treat me as if I'm stupid.
No,
people confuse age with stupidity.
No,
that would be a huge mistake on your part.
Yes.
Huge. Unless you're suggesting he came up on your driveway, which this doesn't suggest at all. You were in a public street without insurance.
Yes, ma'am.
Well, that would be an easy. Did the police respond to this accident?
Yes, ma'am.
Is there a police report?
There,
May I have it, please?
They gave me.
Right here.
Okay. Scuff and scratch marks were observed on the left side of vehicle 2. That's what the police officer observed. Now, what did you do after this accident, Mr. Klinghoffer?
I called the police.
Got the police. The police came, they took a report, they spoke to you. Now, you were picking your son up from school.
Yes, ma'am.
Where did you go?
I went home.
You went home with your son. Now, when you went home with your son, you were riding in front, is that correct?
We walked home. My vehicle was not rideable. My exhaust pipe was
Just a second. How did you get the motor scooter?
I pushed it.
Did you see him push the motor scooter?
I seen him push it down so far, and then he got on it.
Just a second. Would you bring in Mr. Klinghoffer's wife?
This way.
Step over next to your husband, please. Were you at home when your husband came home with your son after this accident?
He actually called me.
Just a second. I said, were you at home?
Yes, I was at home.
Who else was home with you?
My brother and my friend.
You say your husband called you and he told you about the accident?
Yes.
And what did you do?
Me and got in the car and we pulled up and I parked in the middle of the street.
Go over to that chart and show me where you pulled up.
About right here.
Okay, so you pulled up right near where the accident was?
Yes.
And where was your husband?
He was right here with Justin.
Okay, go back. And then what happened? Police come, police leave. I want you to tell me what happened next.
After the police and fire department and ambulance leave, me and Justin walked to where they told me to park my car. So me and Justin got in the car.
And your husband?
He was walking the scooter back to our house with.
And is that how he arrived at the house, walking with the motor scooter?
Yes.
Very good. Kevin, she can go out now.
Okay. This way, please.
Now, as soon as Kevin gets back, I'm going to take a look at your estimate.
Thank you, Kevin.
Okay, so protector muffler, reasonable. Front fender, unreasonable. Just a second. You understand?
Yeah.
Okay. Radiator cover, footrest boards, no. Rear reflector is reasonable. Exhaust pipe, okay. Now, Mr. Major.
Yes, ma'am.
I'm going to tell you that ordinarily I would award him half the damage because I think that he was 50% responsible for this accident. I think he was driving negligently with his son. I think his son was actually, his 12-year-old son was driving the scooter. I think that that's what happened because his story about him sitting in the rear seat hunching over his son in a 4-foot wheelbase is not something that I can conjure. And if it was true, it was still reckless. So I would actually ascribe half of his damage to him. I'm not, and I'm going to tell you why. Because if there was a lot of traffic, you are at least partially responsible for not being more cautious. You're driving in a big car, there was somebody behind you because you did in fact hit them. And you have to be very cautious when you're driving a big car. The reason I'm ascribing all the damage to you, sir, is because you had no insurance. And nobody belongs on the road without insurance. And there has to be a penalty when you're driving without insurance, just like when you're driving without a license. Do you require a license? Just a second. Hey! Where you live, which Sarah can check, do you need a driver's license to ride a scooter on the street?
No, you need an endorsement for a Class B scooter.
A what?
An endorsement for a Class B scooter.
Okay. Do you have that?
Yes, ma'am.
Does your son?
No.
Your son was driving. Your case is dismissed. We're finished here. Thank you very much.
My son was not driving.
Court is adjourned.
I had insurance, but I had it on my other vehicle, not on my truck. I didn't feel nothing until he was pounding on the back of my window. I did not see the scooter until after the fact. Wear your helmet when you're on a scooter and have insurance when you're back on your driveway.
You know what was interesting about that, Sarah, to me? The one thing he said, which came out sort of by accident, was that his son was in front of him. And there's no question that...
I can imagine a world in which you're very uncomfortably trying to ride around your son, but he's not a 7 or 8-year-old. You know, he's a teenage boy who's 5 feet tall, and that would be like one of us sitting in front of him. So I agree that it doesn't make the most sense. I could fathom it. However, common sense kind of kills it.
Common sense kind of kills it, and so does, we were all wearing helmets.
Yeah.
And so does, I pick him up in the motor scooter, and this guy for sure lets his 12-year-old son drive it. And there's a lot of traffic based upon what both things, and the defendant had no insurance. They deserved each other.
Yeah.
Hello, xin chào các bạn. Hôm nay mình sẽ hướng dẫn các bạn tô màu bức tranh một cô bé đang đạp chiếc xe có một giỏ hoa này. Hãy cùng tô với mình nhé. Trước tiên là với chiếc váy này mình sẽ dùng màu vàng nha. đen. Này, đây là miếng tương màu đỏ. Này miếng tương màu đỏ nha. Các bạn nhớ theo dõi hết video để xem thành quả của mình nhé. Vậy là chúng mình đã hoàn thiện xong bức tranh ngày hôm nay rồi đây. Các bạn có thể thấy trên tay của mình đang có bức tranh một cô bé đang đạp xe đạp, mà một chiếc xe đạp màu hồng rất là dễ thương. Hãy cho mình biết ý kiến của các bạn về bức tranh này nha. Video của mình xin được kết thúc ở đây. Đừng quên nhấn like và follow kênh ủng hộ cho mình nhé. Bye bye, hẹn gặp lại các bạn.